Types of plugs you will encounter. This topic is very near and dear to my heart because unfortunately to this day I still have to rely on these guys for my Zaza. So you can imagine after years of experience of buying from tens of different plugs, I'm quite certain I have dealt with every kind there is, from the most vicious acting as gangsta as humanly possible thugs to the high school dudes who just want to fund their Zaza addiction by selling it. And I think it's appropriate to start off with the type of plug I bought from my very first time. And he was the friend who knows a guy who knows a guy who has that exotic. This one isn't really officially a plug per se, but then again, I'm willing to bet this was how most people first encountered any type of Zaza seller. Every time when you and your friends discussed the grass and wanted to try it, he always said something like, "Yeah man, if you really want some, I got a few connects and they always sell that exotic." But in reality, dude's connects were usually his older brother or friend who actually knew someone. So for me, the times I did acquire the grass for this man, that shit was always some Reggie for real. And not just that, it always had a massive markup, cause who else can you sell oregano mixed mid-za for premium price than a bunch of stupid youngsters? But I can't fault the homie too much, cause back then, man, I swear, you could smell some grass and get faded, so everything seemed exotic, even if it was mostly herbs and spices bought at the discount aisle at Walmart. But even so, I ain't mad, cause that's the nature of business, I guess. If a dude is willing to buy your oregano pack for $30, then so be it. You gotta learn from it and move on. And so I did, and found myself a new plug who was yeah bro, that's an eighth. It's just like super compact. You know, like a diamond. The dude who always shorts you. A plug like this never has any longevity, cause I mean, after being shorted 1 or 2 times max, however much you crave the za, usually your self-respect won't allow you to go back to man's like, "So, you got the eighth?" Yeah, of course dog, I'ma hook you up nicely this time. This some good shit. Nice. Show me the bag real quick though. Gotcha big dog. Here it is. Where is it? Oh, wait, hold up, my bad. You need this to see it. Okay. Do you see it now? It's like super compact, you know, like a diamond. Yeah, like a diamond, right? Yeah, okay, but I'm gonna have to skip this one. I don't really even want any za right now. Alright, bro, you're a loss. Get the fuck out of my car.
You don't want no smoke, don't want no jazz.
These the plugs who exclusively sell to stupid kids, cause anybody with any understanding of how 1 gram of za should look like would just tell him to F off and remove him on Snapchat. But this guy also abuses his status of the plug to provoke fear into dudes who don't yet know any better and think these guys are all freaking mafia level gangsters who, if you disagree with them, finna pull a Scarface and take out a M249 and start going bananas. But don't feel too bad if you've fallen for this scam before, cause I have too. In fact, I had a friend who was supposed to get 1 gram, but the plug gave him 0.1 and my man still bought it. Mostly cause he didn't even know how much a gram is supposed to look like, so he just trusted it. Anyway, next type on the list is the complete opposite, and one of my favorites, and he is the always faded plug. This guy could also be called the plug who only sells to fund his copious amount of Zaza consuming on a daily basis. And why he is one of my favorites is for multiple reasons. Firstly, because he is the king of getting high off his own supply, he always has a comment on the stuff you're getting. Secondly, because mans is faded 24/7, he don't really want any confrontation, so he'll probably never short you. In fact, sometimes out of the warmth of his heart, he'll throw some extra in there, depending if he likes you as a customer or not. And lastly, because he has evolved to a point where being high is his normal state, which don't ever get that far. It's not good for your health, and it can and will ruin your life no matter how much you hear Zaza isn't addictive. It can be if you take it too far. But anyway, because of the fact he cannot live without the magic ring plant in his system, in my experience, he has always had a 100% success rate to the text, "Hey yo, you got any?" That meaning, mans is more reliable than a Volvo, mans is more dependable than James Bond, mans is more loyal than a golden retriever, goddamn! The only problem for you, the customer, is he is usually pretty on and off on the plug-in business, because if you can get that addicted to za, it's usually a personality trait, so knowing that, this guy either smokes every day 24/7, or he is completely grass-free. And when he is grass-free, he disappears like the Avatar. So yeah. But now on to the next plug on the list, and he is the plug who should have probably started an actual business instead. This plug is quite rare, and I've only ever met one of these mofos, but oh boy, what a roller coaster ride it was. I remember it like it was yesterday. I was looking for some grass, so I hit up my usual plug, only for him to inform me he is, quote, out of the game, but will give me the Snapchat of a guy who is, quote, new to the game. And so he did. And after writing mans asking for some grass, he told me to meet up near a construction store. And since this was a while ago, I ain't have my license yet, so I ran me an e-scooter and rolled up. And the person who greeted me was none other than Mr. Invisible. Yeah, no, that was like his actual Snapchat username. Anyway, it was the short guy who kinda looked like a goblin, but he seemed quite serious and was the first plug ever to write me afterwards asking, how was the stuff? And after replying, he also gave me a freaking affiliate program. Not for real. He told me every friend I link him up with, he will give me 20 bucks if they ever buy from him. I ended up not doing that cause it kinda seemed ridiculous. Like, bro, you sell grass, not fucking VPN subscriptions. But over the next 6 months, I would see this man build a Snapchat grass cartel. Dudes was posting stories every day of his illegal activities like he had the cops under his payroll or something. And funniest part was, over the 6 months that I acquired the grass from him, I saw how his $10 camo pants and $15 Shane jacket turned into Gucci pants and an Armani jacket. Like, goddamn! Bro was really trying to be the local Scarface, and dudes even had mofos working for him. Like, sometimes I'd write him and he'd literally reply, come here, I'll get an employee to bring it to you. Employee? Bro was acting like he Mr. Krab, sending SpongeBob to secure the secret formula. But unfortunately, his plugging career ended in about 6 months, where he sent us off with a heartwarming goodbye on his Snapchat story reading, greetings, my beloved customers. I am informing you all that I will unfortunately no longer be your plug, as I am moving on. It was great while it lasted, and I wish you all the best. As for the Zaza, I mentioned 3 people in this story who will fill my shoes in this field. Stay cool. Peace out. And the craziest part is, I'm not making any of this up. This dude was a legit comedy movie character, and his personality reflected it. He was like the generic Slav trapper guy who tried his hardest to act as gangsta as humanly possible, and every sentence man said had to have at least 2 curse words. So yeah, although he is the most memorable plug I've ever had, he definitely wasn't my favorite. That spot has to go to the friendly neighborhood plug. The best plug a man can ask for. This would be the dude that lives close to your neighborhood, so you don't have to travel around the whole of Skyrim just to get some za. But if that wasn't enough, this the plug that also, as the name suggests, is friendly and doesn't act all gangsta, nor shorts you for no reason, nor is high 24/7. He's just a chill, reliable guy. And sometimes he'll even come to you, cause you live in the same neighborhood and he enjoys riding his bike while flipping packs and making racks. And unfortunately, however much this dude is just a normal human being, in the field of plugs, well, he's like a diamond. Very rare. So if you got yourself a plug like this, be thankful for your blessings, cause your next one is probably gonna be the usual local wannabe Pablo Escobar. But hey, plugs usually switch like every 4 months anyway, so don't be discouraged when yours is, well, weird. Smoking alone can be a marvelous time filled with amazing discoveries of the most unexpectedly entertaining things, like YouTube videos about a raspy voiced John Wick lookalike or a bald short guy who is really into psych. But there is a catch to this fantastic ability of solo highs. Every time you consume the za by your lonesome, you are also taking upon the demons that might reside in the grass. And oh boy, because you are alone, you don't have anyone to tell you, Bro, I think the zaza was laced, man. Everything is so intense. I'm low-key bugging out right now. Bro, you're being a total pussy right now. Just chill out and let's go buy some goddamn Doritos. Man, yeah, you're probably right. Let's just go buy some Doritos, I guess. As you can see, it's actually quite nice if you have someone to stop you from falling deep into some stupid paranoid episode. But honestly, this is usually only an issue the first couple times, cause after a while, the grass runs out of tricks, and you can just enjoy the high without being scared of the spooky monsters that could be under your bed. But you know, just to be safe, you should always check. Anyway, one problem I just can't seem to get rid of in my solo high adventures is my damn focus. That thing just seems to flip-flop through everything it comes across. Like, sometimes I find the most banger movie that I am 100% sure I will enjoy the living out of. And then all of a sudden, my brain gets into an entanglement with the leftover box of donuts I have in the fridge. And once something like that happens, it's already too late. Cause I mean, yeah, you could sit there trying to watch the movie pretending like you haven't already spiritually traveled to the fridge where you're feeling the most vivid sensations of what those donuts would taste like. And there you are, thinking about donuts when you switch back to reality and look at the screen in front of you and realize, what the hell is this movie about? It just sucks. So to be honest, I've kind of learned that for the best solo highs, you really gotta just go where the za leads you, cause if you start forcing yourself to do something, it's never fun. Yet one thing I urge you guys to stay away from if you don't want to feel like a worthless piece of filth at the end of your high is those damn TikToks. Don't get me wrong, I love a bit of short form content, but when you high, that shit is like a bottomless, timeless pit. My dumbass has wasted whole entire highs just mindlessly scrolling all these IG reels, YouTube shorts, TikToks, etc. And it's really awful afterwards, especially if you had planned to watch a movie or play a game, cause then all you can think of is what could have been. To me, it feels almost as bad as planning out a great day of stumbling around suited AF, only to do a wake and bake and shortly after fall into a comatose state where you wake up at 6 p.m. all hazy, knowing damn well that you just quite literally wasted not only the whole day, but a whole bunch of Zaza. And for what? To sleep on your bed? Could've done that sober too. Okay, I will admit sometimes when the za hits you with crazy dreams, it's worth it, but that's really rare. But anyway, as long as you can keep somewhat of a hold over your brain, you'll have a great old time. Some of the best solo highs I've had have always been when I can get into whatever I'm doing, that being a video game, movie, anime, whatever. Although it is tough, cause I guess it's just human nature to want that quick satisfaction from TikTok or whatnot. But a good way to approach those short form apps is once you see an interesting clip, kind of start researching more into it. So for example, if you see a video of let's say some SB Foundation creature that you find dope, instead of scrolling forward, hop on YouTube and start looking at more shit related to that. That way you're not rotting your brain by hopping from subject to subject, and in 2-3 years after the world evolves into a place where the average person's attention span is 2 seconds, you can proudly parade the fact that yours isn't a measly 2 seconds, it's 5. Nah, but I think you get what I mean, and if you want to level up even further from that, instead of entertainment, you can try to study, work, train, etc. whilst high. Although that can be quite tough, but if you can pull it off, I'll tell you about a great investment opportunity. Okay, I'll tell you now, it's a pink gorilla with AirPods. This is the perfect time to get into NFTs and I'm sorry guys, I don't know what happened. I think the spirit of Logan Paul consumed me. Anyway, I think the Zaza is a wonderful thing, as long as you don't abuse it and save it for appropriate times. But hey, that's just my opinion, I guess. High in the sky going 600 miles per hour. What can go wrong?
Hello, valued customers, Captain speaking. We'd like to apologize for the delay. We got word that one of our passengers is smuggling Schedule 1 narcotics on the plane, and we have informed the local authorities who should be escorting the man out right about now.
Alright then, scumbag. Empty your bag right now. I can smell the narcotics on you.
Officer, why? I don't have any narcotics on me. I just ate a legal hemp gun.
Oh shit, he's got a gun! That was a close one, but don't worry folks, the situation has been handled. We'll get a crew to body bag this son of a bitch. Oh sure, you also dropped your bag of flour. Anyway, carry on. Highway to the danger zone.
Well, turns out quite a few things, but over the clouds there lies a rainbow so beautiful, it might just be worth it. Because as we all know, flying friggin' sucks, because unless you have an online university making you $1 million a day, you're gonna have to get used to paying Michelin star restaurant prices for tap water and the most disgusting food you'll ever taste in your life. And I promise you bro, I'm not over exaggerating. The last flight of our US trip from JFK to London, me and RizX decided to pop a New York Lego Brick Blue Rats Eddie just before we got to the airport, so we were faded both at the airport and the first half of our flight. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. This was my first ever time flying high, and yes, this might be a shocker for some of you guys.
CBD bro isn't smoking that Qui-Gon Jinn Vietnamese Phillips head runs 24/7? Unsubscribed!
And although that might be true, just know, this shit ain't nothing to me, man. I smoke real Amani Cuban Rapscallion Ghost Nuggets. I'm him. I've been him. I will continue to be him. Just got my DNA test back. Turns out I'm 100% Himalayan. So basically, I never saw saw a need nor really had the opportunity to be faded on an airplane. Mostly because 90% of my flights have been 2 hours or shorter, and 2 hours of sitting on the Boeing GTS bucket seat ain't that bad. Well, if you're flying Frontier, it'll probably be like 5 hours because the fucking delay's there. Anyway, as we woke up in the morning in Flushing, New York, in a $250 per day shitbox of a hotel at the end of our trip, completely exhausted and a bit depressed from having to go back home from our grand US adventure, we looked at our only 25% consumed $30 bag of Eddies and thought, man, this is all really gonna go to waste. Unless we... I'm gonna stop you right now. We're not risking jail time for 15 bucks worth of Eddies. Man... Nah, you're right. But, what if we just ate it all before the flight? After Googling and Redditing for 20 minutes, we were pretty confident that being high on an airplane isn't a big deal as long as you don't take any za with you. So we ordered our Uber to JFK and now we were on our way to the airport, discussing how much should we take. And although I at first thought of taking the whole bag was 500 mgs, so $250 per, which my tolerance was at the point where 50 effed me up, so we decided on 100 to avoid. Would you like some snacks or any drinks, sir?
No, thank you.
Can I offer you any snacks or any drinks, sir?
I'll have, M&M's.
We arrived at the airport and ate our Eddies just before going in. It took us about 10 minutes to get to the security line, which had us a bit paranoid because the line was pretty long, and for our calculations, the Eddies should be kicking in about 20 to 30 minutes. Thankfully, we were able to unload our bags before they hit, and Rizx was the first one through with no problems. He got his bag and was waiting for me on the other side when...
You're good to go, sir. Enjoy your flight.
Next.
Are all your pockets empty, sir?
Yes,
Walk on through then, sir. Yeah.
The Eddies had shown themselves just before I went through the body scan, but thankfully I got through that just fine. The problem was, unlike Rizx whose bags were cleared instantly, mine were not. They were sent to the manual inspection, which I knew for a fact I had nothing to hide, but because I was slowly but surely descending into madness, all I could think about while I was sitting there with the other people whose bag needed to be checked was, how long is this gonna take?
Shit, I hope I don't have anything. No, I know I don't. Do I?
Yes!
What?
I was bugging out. Not because I was smuggling anything, but because I was slowly but surely getting higher and higher, and was starting to question if I had accidentally left some weed in my bag, maybe, I don't know. Thankfully, after about 20 minutes, I got my bags, and we were able to leave security. Finally. And I thought that the hard part was over, but it was just beginning. Let me introduce you to the worst food place I have ever experienced in my 21 years of life on planet Earth. Let's call this establishment Trust Burger. Even though my expectations for airport food are extremely low, and I mean massively so, the experience there literally opened my eyes to how shit a food place can actually be. I arrived there 1 hour before boarding, and from the first glance, I knew what I was dealing with was truly a Michelin star worthy establishment. There were 4 workers there, each with a designated task, and each one of them was really pouring their heart into it. The first worker was at the counter, and she was really well trained because she was working there in a completely new way. Instead of taking orders and answering customer questions, she positioned herself near the back of the counter, close to the kitchen, obviously to provide the best service possible somehow. Oh, but the kitchen workers were even more professional. They were so good at their jobs that although there was 4 of them, only 1 of them was working. And I'm assuming the others were there for quality control. Now, normal folks like myself and you would think that having a line of people waiting for their food with angry faces would make these guys rush. But no, what we were dealing with were truly smooth operators. Even in the face of controversy, with all eyes on these 5 workers, however much the customers tried to get it out of them, they refused to muster up even one singular fuck. And obviously being that the person who was supposed to be taking orders was doing something else, mostly chit-chatting with other workers, everybody including me had to order from the self-service machine. And so I did. After ordering, I went to buy some Ruffles and M&Ms, and because I was bugging off the Cuban rapscallion ghost nuggets and had lost my sense of time, I went up to the counter to ask if my order was ready. Yeah, hello? Yeah, hello. Sorry, I'm just checking if my order is ready. I went away for a minute, so, just checking. I don't know.
Okay. Well, do you know where I can find this out? It's only been 5 minutes, man. Okay. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry.
I walked away from there high as balls and shamed. Shamed for asking if my order was ready. Now, at this point, I was basically starving to death. But how these guys had treated me, I was really scared of them spitting or even worse, jizzing on my burger. But after 20 minutes, I did get my order. And if you thought the service was bad, the burger itself was even worse. The thing was cold and dry as fush. It was so bad I literally had to consume the thing like a competitive eater. Every bite had to be hydrated with a sip of water, so the jizz burger would even slide down my throat. After eating it, I was also really paranoid of getting food poisoning. Not because the burger tasted bad, well it did, it tasted like dog shit, but it didn't taste like anything had gone bad in there. Just because I was obliterated and my brain was prepping for the worst case scenario. But now it was time to find jizz in your Riz-X and go to our gate. And that took about 10 minutes, and after that we started walking there together when we heard the speakers call out, Mr. Bro and Mr. Riz, this is your last call for flight 69420. I repeat, Mr. Bro and Mr. Riz, this is your last call for flight 69420. Please come to gate 69 immediately. Thank you.
Run.
Thankfully, we got to our gate and made it on the plane. And turns out there was plenty of freaking time because we still sat and waited for 30 minutes before the plane took off. Which that might have also been the reason why the guys at the gate looked at us like a bunch of baboons. Looking back at it, it must have set off some alarms seeing two 6'5" behemoths running at full speed holding their carry-ons on top their heads like they were running from a lion, but hey, at least we made it. But once the adrenaline wore off, I realized 100 mg was truly too much. I was fighting demons on that aerodynamic plane, and what made it worse was the flight attendants were all super posh and uptight. We were sat at the extra legroom middle aisle, and I swear it wasn't just a za. These motherfuckers were looking at us, judging our every move. Anyway, after sitting in silence and looking down at the floor for 30 minutes, we finally took off. And because it was an international flight, it was a massive plane. And as it was taking off, it made a lot of creaking and sketchy noises, which increased my tweak meter to almost maximum. I mean, it doesn't make sense physics-wise. How the fuck are those massive wings supported with just a connection to the body of the plane? Things were flopping like crazy, and however much I tried, I couldn't get the vision out of my mind that as soon as the pilot starts pulling up, one of those wings would detach and we would fly into the highway in front of the airport and a ball of fire causing the next 9/11.
But we survived. What a surprise. I guess it was just a week.
I did end up sleeping for 4 hours of our 10-hour flight, which was great. I'll leave it up to you though if you think it was worth it, as all the stress and anxiety did pay off very nicely as I watched Vikings and ate M&Ms for the rest of the flight with a smile on my face. We proceeded to touch down in London at 6 a.m. and slept for 4 hours at a McDonald's before catching our last flight home. Imagine you ate a bunch of mushrooms, sat down and waited for them to kick, but as you were waiting, your homie gave you some acid. You sat there a bit longer, and just before everything started coming up, you smoked a massive bowl of some couch lock exotic za, and then boom, it all hits at once. That right there is how I describe DMT to someone who's never heard of it, because instead of gradually ramping up, DMT kicks down your mental door with a sledgehammer made of neon lights and screams. There is no build-up nor gentle come-up. 1 second you're in your room, the next you've launched through the fabric of reality like a screaming missile. You might meet entities that feel more real than your landlord, and they'll communicate in emotions, telepathy, or geometry. Then just as quickly, you're back on your couch like nothing happened, except you're sweaty, humbled, and questioning whether any of this, or anything ever, was real. But that's just DMT, the psychedelic equivalent of being booted out of the universe, given a cosmic PowerPoint presentation in a language your soul barely understands, and then drop back into your body with only a vague memory and a racing heartbeat. Knowing all that, you might understand why DMT has been one of the few psychedelics I've truly been scared to do. Not because I feared addiction or really any of the usual worries, but because I truly thought that I might not come back from this as the same person. But hey,
if you do it, you will talk to intelligent beings from other dimensions, for real.
Joe Rogan did it, and he seems fine. So, for the sake of education and science, I will be sharing my experience with the king of psychedelics. No wavy hands here, a true out-of-body experience with cosmic figures, ghosts from my past, and an ending that truly left me questioning the reality that I saw versus the reality reality that I live day to day. But as a disclaimer, do not do anything in this video. It's all just a funny, entertaining, and educational stickman story, and never actually even happens. I am a stickman. Anyway, it all started where I feel like these things usually start. Los Angeles, California, the city of angels and the homeless. I was staying in LA for 1 month, and I was your typical tourist. Benjamin in one hand and a Starbucks coffee in the other, walking on Santa Monica and Venice Beach, observing some of the most unique and, well, weird people I've ever seen. One guy was walking around with dreadlocks down to his knees and a live parrot hanging around his shoulder. Another smacking 10 blinkers of a pen in front of the metro before going in, sitting down, opening a Nutella jar, and raw dogging the whole thing with his fingers, sitting right next to me, mumbling stuff like, Nutella. Then reaching my destination to play street ball, only to be picked up by a dude who had allegedly made $200 on the boulevard that day by doing backflips for money and then spending said money on his preferred combination of highs to play basketball. Shrooms and coke. Why I'm telling you all this is because I'm trying to get you on the vibes I was on for the month I stayed in LA. Normality became warped. Is this guy trying to rob me, or is he just tweaking off crack? Being in situations like that nearly every day really warped my fear detector parameters. Whereas the first week, seeing a bunch of fent fiends camped out in tents staring frightened me, on week 4 I just waved at them and smiled while ripping some Cali exotic frontal cortex destroying Zaza. But the thing with smoking anything regularly is that eventually your body is gonna feel it. Coughing, mucus, lower stamina, these are all things that can come from too much loud in your lungs, bruh. Through my days of journeying around LA, I had visited many dispensaries until I found one that I grew to call home. Weeks of buying za went by, and I had built a pretty solid relationship with the owner there. I showed him my videos, and he showed me some of the famous people he's met, like Snoop Dogg. Until one day, on my last week there, somehow the topic of DMT came up. He had done it before, I had not. I explained my adventures in Amsterdam, bugging off mushrooms and za, my heroic dose journey, etc., to which he replied, "You're ready." And after a few minutes of back and forth of me explaining why I'm a bit scared to try it, he ended up convincing me with 3 simple words. Sick video idea. Damn it! He's right. $7 for eggs? I need that ad revenue to survive. My quest had begun. A true legendary at CBD Bro adventure, because he told me that he does not have DMT himself, but a buddy of his owns a smart shop near Venice Beach, and if you go there and say John sent you, they'll hook you up. I had been given a real-life oblivion quest on some...
You must travel to the faraway beaches of Venice, where there lives a powerful shaman. Once I find him, I must utter the code John sent me to progress the quest.
So I got on the nearest bus to Venice and started journeying there. After about 1 hour, I was dropped off and had a 7-minute walk to the DMT plug. When I arrived there, the shop was nearly empty, with only 2 stoner-looking dudes hanging around, and the clerk didn't seem too happy by my presence. But I gathered my courage, walked up and said, "Hello, do you guys sell DMT?" John sent me? And as I uttered the words of the legendary John, his face went from, "Get the f*** out of here, you fed," to, "Oh, John sent you, of course we have DMT. What you looking for, a pen or the real natural stuff?" Shit. Well, give me the natural stuff, I guess. Good choice. Here you are, and you know what? It's on the house. Just come back tomorrow and let us know how it went. Free? On the house? Tears of joy dripped down my face as I hadn't heard those words ever since I arrived in the US. Now, I was locked in. I grabbed the herb and bust myself back to my $3K a month rundown studio apartment. An absolute banger of a deal if you ask me, and got myself prepared. I firstly watched a couple videos on the first time doing DMT, and found this very popular one where it was explained that you have to smoke it 3 times, but that after the first hit, you're not gonna wanna do anymore, yet you must push on if you want to get the true mystical experience. And since I knew I probably won't be doing this stuff ever again, I decided that I just had to go all out. I packed 1 bowl ready and set aside 2 similarly sized doses on the table to be added in after I finished the initial bowl, and well, I got down to business. I ripped my first hit, and right after exhaling, my room started shrinking. I swear the walls started closing in on me, and it's like everything got some top tier Minecraft shaders and a texture pack. I was way screwed up, but there was also a guiding voice, very similar to the video I had just watched.
Whatever you do, don't stop. You have to keep going. You have to get that third hit.
I'm not shitting you when I say I felt like my only way to salvation was to get to the third hit. I rushed to pack the second bowl, all while I still saw the walls closing in. It was like a time trial.
Okay.
The world around me started violently collapsing and vibrating like there was a glitch in the Matrix and I was about to be pulled out. It was so freaking intense, honestly, there's nothing I can even compare it to. I was screwed, I was tweaking, not having a fun time. I did not want to smoke more, but then through the chaos, my subconscious was screaming, "Finish what you started!" At this point, my arms were literally melting, but not in a particularly scary way. It's hard to explain, it was more cartoonish. I struggled to load the last bowl and fought my conscious brain every step of the way there. But I got it ready, and I smoked it. I smoked the whole thing, and I was simply not there anymore. I slumped back on my couch and just fell into a void of moving colors, weird shapes, and creatures. But even though I had never seen any of this, it all felt very familiar, like I had been there before, kind of like when you have a super vivid dream that weeks later you struggle to remember if it was real or your imagination. After a bit of time, the flickering colors and shapes stopped, and I landed in my childhood room, sitting in front of my monitor, and it was like all the colors and shapes were actually in this monitor, and I just zoomed out and I was sitting on my old chair staring at this screen, which was like a gateway to this colorful DMT universe. But even though I was not in the DMT portal anymore, my room was still super weird. Like everything seemed to be as I remembered it, but I had an odd feeling that something was not right. Everything seemed correct, but wrong at the same time. And then through the door to my room, in came one of my old friends, Salamander, but he was different. Like it was an alternate parallel universe version of him, and he was wearing this Matrix-style robe and just kept saying, "You are where you belong. You are where you belong." But I was like, nah, this bad trip fake-ass salamander, so I ran towards him and tried to give him the 1-2. But as I ran at him, he disappeared, and so did the room and everything behind me, and I fell through the doorway into this endless freefall of darkness that was surrounded by computer code detailing my whole freaking life. Events that I lived through, written out in some JavaScript language, like my whole existence was just a game with preset events programmed in. Eventually, I stopped free-falling and was just standing there staring at all this code around me in existential dread when a calming yet ominous voice echoed from a distance. "Now that you know, can you ever go back?" And snap! Just as I flew into this void via flashing colors and weirdly familiar shapes, it pulled me back the same. I opened my eyes and I was wide awake, clear-headed as I've ever been, staring around my room in shock. Holy shit. It felt like it was over before it even started, and although I was left feeling a little bit frightened from that ominous final message, overall, I was just in shock that there exists a plant with such tremendous power in pulling out your subconscious mind and leaking it all to your conscious mind. I had a sense of mental awakening, but also like I knew something I shouldn't. Shit still freaks me out to this day. Really, the only thing I can compare it to is some ultra vivid lucid dreams I've had, and even those were more grounded in the reality we perceive day to day. DMT isn't your average psychedelic like psilocybin, which adds a layer on top of reality. DMT is its own reality, its own plane of existence, and for that reason, I probably won't be doing it again. Although I am very curious about the mysteries it presented to me, I also know from previous experience that trying to get answers to these mysteries just end up giving you more mysteries. But then again, I don't know, maybe DMT is different. Addiction, a term that seems to be thrown around a lot these days. There's social media addiction, video game addiction, corn addiction, but the one that is still undefeated in terms of screwing your life up as fast as possible is drug addiction. Thankfully, I've been smart enough, even in high school, to understand that popping at the ripe age of 16 or shooting up instead of shooting hoops on the weekends was probably not going to be a good foundation for my desired adult lifestyle. Which, I mean, labeling myself smart for not doing drugs with a still developing brain is kind of glazing, but well, believe it or not, I was in the minority, at least in my friend circle. I mean, there were days where some of my friends came to school off MD And I even heard some rumors that certain kids were caught dropping Zannies inside their soda during lunch. Like, bro, there's no way that geography class was that stressful. Anyway, since I've been around this stuff basically all my life and have seen everything from respectable party pill enjoyers all the way to over cases, I'd like to go over the levels of drug addiction that you can spiral through if you ever decide to, well, do drugs, which please don't ever do them. This video is purely for educational purposes to showcase the horrible road that awaits you if you ever get sucked in by peer pressure, hanging out with the wrong people, or just your own stupidity. Hopefully, it'll also serve as a wake-up call for some, because most times addicts hang out with other addicts who will most likely not tell you that,
Hey bro, I think you should stop doing crack, but like, I'll keep at it, but you, nah.
And although not all drugs affect you the same, your level of addiction to any drug usually shows the same symptoms, at least on the surface, to the people around you. And although there would obviously be differences if you were addicted to coke versus, I don't know, they're not huge, and for the purposes of this video, it won't really affect much. But no one, including yourself, will ever notice when you're at level 1. Peer pressure. First stage of a potential addict's journey. Now, at this level, you're definitely not a crackhead or anything. You're just at the function, drunk, and maybe a bit high, hanging with your homies when the kid your mom warned you about starts walking towards you with your buddy you've known since elementary school. You notice that they both seem kind of energetic and really happy. They get closer and closer until finally they pull you to the side and say,
Yo, bro, you won't believe the stuff Doug has.
What, he got some good weed?
Nah, bro, way better, like way better.
I don't know if I like where this is going, bruh.
Now, hear me out. This stuff ain't easy to get. We're talking 100% pure Colombian coke.
Now, I don't know if it's just my messed up upbringing, but if I had a quarter for every time I've been offered free... I mean, I'd have a couple bucks, but the point is, I've been offered free Colombian more times than I can remember, and although it has not been easy, especially the times I was drunk, every single time I refused. Why? Cause I ain't no who needs some chemical powder to get the confidence to pull baddies. I just need enough to black out. Well, to be honest, that mostly just applies to my high school days, as now that I'm 22, I've grown to realize how bad alcohol actually is for you, which is why I now almost exclusively stick to the Zaza. Anyway, for the purposes of this video, let's differ from the actual timeline and remove my godly self-control and see what would have happened if I had gone down the road of almost all my other friends.
Okay, yeah, screw it. Now that's what a man would say. Doug, he's down.
Okay, so I just sniff it?
Yeah, man, it'll get you proper.
Okay, here goes nothing.
Oh, I'm literally God!
And what would have happened from here is what I would have probably proclaimed the greatest night of my life. Because don't get it twisted, there is a reason why drugs are addictive. They make you feel good, confident, euphoric, unrealistically so. Something I truly realized just a few years ago. A famous 2010 study by David Nutt, ex-UK drug advisor, asked drug users to rate drugs on pleasure and harm, with the max pleasure rating being free. Heroin topped the list at 3, crack at 2.5, MDMA at 2.2, and coke at 2. Now, if we were to use the same rating system for natural pleasures, we'd roughly get 2 to 2.5, achieving a life goal again 2 to 2.5, entering a deep flow state 1.5 to 2. Anyway, why I'm telling you this is that the only time I've ever felt comparably as good as I did when I was on Molly is when I got an email saying I had been accepted into the YouTube Partner Program, which was a life goal of mine since I was like 9. But that took me years of trying and failing, ups and downs, hardships and struggles. It cost me $10. But that was just a bit of extra info to make you understand what drugs really are. A taste of unnatural happiness at the cost of true happiness. Now let's see what happened to this alternate timeline CBD bro at level 2.
Yo, party's kinda lame. Wanna get a bag?
CBD bro has turned into a true party animal. Well, it's more of a warm-up because he doesn't really feel like he's truly partying without a bag. Talking to females, however drunk he gets, just ain't the same as the night he turned to the dark side. Every word oozed confidence, and the hoes, they loved him for it. And I mean, it's not like he's addicted or anything. He only does a line or two when there's a dope party and it's available. And coincidentally, there seems to be a dope party every weekend. And even more weird, he always seems to secure a bag somehow. Mostly because he's got himself a couple of new friends who he shares a hobby with. The biggest problem at this stage is, as Dana White put it,
Isn't cheap.
It's expensive. Gotta make
make
money.
money.
But for now, thankfully, he has a sweet Nintendo Switch he can sell. And a laptop too. He told his parents he's grown out of video games. They seemed happy he's maturing. And since he's got like 3 friends he can split the bill with, he's just about getting by. Lost a bit of muscle mass, but that's about it. Nothing to be worried about. Oh, and he's not addicted. He just keeps thinking about how fun last week's party was and how this weekend is gonna be even more lit. Cause the Facebook event says there's 12 people going and 10 interested. I hope you guys saw through my sarcasm, as the real reason why CBD Bro loves to party is the I mean, in high school, partying is fun regardless, but the people that go to every single function are either extreme extroverts or they're doing drugs. We are constantly told that when you're young, you need to experiment and find your calling, which is then taken by some teens and warped into experiment with and find your favorite. Good news is that on this level, you're giving your body and brain at least a couple days or weeks to stabilize. But the bad news is that being the case, you haven't really discovered the reality of drugs and you're slowly losing your sense of self. What made you happy before doesn't even come close to your weekends, and high school being as easy as it is, if you don't come to the realization yourself that this path leads to nothing, you'll find yourself on level 3. The weird guy at the function. I'd say this is the last level where a person can seem completely normal on the surface, as in he probably isn't in severe debt to various banks and loan sharks, and his face, although slender, doesn't scream out, "I'll snort anything." But don't get it twisted. At this stage, you have a pretty crippling addiction. You haven't done any old or stuff related to needles quite yet, but you're thinking about it. Quite frankly, life sober is depressing. You feel empty, there's no purpose. You wasted your early 20s doing nothing but obsessing over the next party where you can be up in a socially acceptable environment. Your peers have jobs, careers, and you might too. Heck, if you're a head and work in sales, you might be pretty damn good at your job, but all you really care about is your next kick. You wanna feel alive. Jumping back to the alternate CBD Bro timeline though, I think it would've looked something like this. Instead of pursuing his YouTube dream, CBD Bro spends his time thinking about the good old days back in high school when times were simpler. He was popular and doing functions made you cool, not a middle-aged loser. Now he either bounces between any parties he can find and hanging out with Doug, the guy who gave him his first line. Deep down he hates him, but he's the only one who'll go to parties with him, taking some of the attention away from the fact he's in his mid-20s still hanging out with teenagers, goddamn. Basically, he's the dude that when your parents ask,
"It's just going to be people from your school at the party, right?"
are watching out for. He is officially a bad influence and quite frankly a deadbeat. These next levels are where unfortunately there's almost no return. Level 4. For real messed up in the brain. No breaks in between now. There's always something in your system. Is like your morning coffee, and all that really holds you back from doing other stuff in between is your finances. You probably still have a job though, so that's good news. Bad news is that, well, the job ain't paying enough, so you've resorted to selling the stuff you know best, but not in like a Pablo Escobar type way, more like a get high off your own supply and hopefully make a couple extra bucks type deal. Alternate CBD Bro timeline, Doug is in jail. CBD Bro is all alone besides the hose he pulls with the offering of free lines at his place. A true scumbag. All ties with his family have been cut. They wanted him to get better, but they didn't understand that it wasn't the that were the problem. It was literally everything else. That was sarcasm, YouTube. Okay, time for the final level. Level 5. Dead or in jail. The last stop. Regardless of if you're dead or in jail, you had a good run, I guess. Just another statistic. Damn shame. If you do go to jail, there's a small chance you might come back a new man. But yeah, the odds are not in your favor, and even if you do, you'll live out a life of regret, constantly pondering about what you could have been if you just had said no. We all know that the Zaza can reignite that sense of wonder we had as a kid. Unfortunately, this doesn't come without a price, because depending on how much you consume, your brain function will drop accordingly. So even though in your head, you'll feel like a super genius connecting dots you couldn't piece together before, to the people around you, you'll be looking something like this. But for all the people who are relatively new to blazing, this list can help you avoid doing things so incredibly stupid that you'll look back at them, wondering if maybe you really are all the things that you were called in those Call of Duty lobbies back in the day. Anyway, let's get right into number 3. ordering food and then forgetting about it. So you That's number 2. Yeah, bro, we're gonna go. Let's just do one more hit. The good old one more hit. For some reason, every time you want to go outside to do something, either alone or with friends, there's always the internal conflict of, are you high enough? And to be honest, most of the time you are. But man, I'd rather be tripping balls, feeling like a special needs space cadet, than have that, man, I should have smoked more feeling. The problem with that is, a lot of times, that last hit hits you with that Muhammad Ali right hook, meaning your high hopes of a productive stoner adventure turn into another night of being immobilized on the couch with an industrial grade barrel of Ben & Jerry's ice cream on your night table. Bro, let's go, it's getting late. Yeah, don't worry about it, let's hit the grab one more time though. Okay, sure. Number 1. Forgetting to buy the munch. Now, some of you might be saying something like, no, it's not stupid, it's the correct thing to do, cause eating so much sugar and fatty foods is like really unhealthy for you. And I will agree with you to the extent if you're a daily smoker, then yes, stuffing your face like Nicocado avocado every day is not the way to go. But if you're like me, who only blazes a couple times a week, but those times you get absolutely obliterated, then it is stupid. Cause that's just torturing yourself. It's like buying a supercar without an engine, going to an amusement park below the height requirement, moving to Dubai with the financial stability of a college graduate. It doesn't make sense. Plus, to be honest, if your body works normally, after stuffing yourself to the brim the night before, you won't even want to eat anything for the next 12 to 18 hours. Knowing all these things, why do I still not buy that goddamn mega pack of Doritos? Knowing damn well it ain't gonna change a thing. The munchies will have me going to the gas station at 2 a.m. on a Wednesday like, sir, will there be anything else? No. That'll be... No. Actually, I'll have a double cheeseburger too. Socializing high. You ever tried holding a conversation while being blasted? It usually ends up being a mixture of trying to remember what the other guy said whilst analyzing the little bit of details that did manage to penetrate into your mind. Just recently, I had a guy come up to me at the store like, should I get the spicy ones or the cheesy ones? Hey bro, what you doing at Walmart? Who is this guy? Yeah, we met at that party a month ago. Oh yeah, I should say something. Yeah bro, just chilling. Just chilling at Walmart? That's cool that you could just what does that like even that. Mean? My mom just should I say something to add to it? I don't know where to go. No, it's too long already. I'm gonna be homeless soon. Wait, what's this guy talking about? So yeah, just been really sad because of that lately. Yeah man, I get you. But don't worry, cause there's always a bright side at the end of the tunnel, man. Bright side at the end of the tunnel? My mom just died and I'm gonna be homeless now, so I don't know about that, man. I'm sorry, bro. I didn't know. But I just told you 10 seconds ago. Okay, see you, bro. Hope things get better soon. What was that guy talking about? I don't know. I think I'll take the spicy Doritos. It's even worse when you blast it onto Mars with a spaceship type of high. Cause I swear, I be getting memory wiped every 5 seconds. Like, I don't want to be mean or anything, but please understand, if you don't get your point across in 5 seconds or less, I'ma be right back to thinking about that one meme on Reddit I saw 2 weeks ago. Bro, I've been thinking about this a lot, and I finally got it. The secret to making endless money is... And that's all you gotta do.
Wait, sorry, bro. I'm kind of faded than a hoe out here right now. So you said the secret to making endless dough was, yeah, man. What I was basically saying was that all you gotta do is start a business involving. So yeah, man, I can help you get started. I've already quit my job and moved to Dubai. You can join me. Move to Dubai? What's this guy on about? I think I'm just gonna leave. So, bro, what you think? You ready to get rich? Nah, man, I don't think that's gonna work. Now, excuse me, I'm gonna go take a shit. It's not all bad though. You gotta love it when you see a homie at the store who's also blasted to the moon. The Zaza makes you connected on a multiversal level like, hey bro, what you doing? Nothing, chillin'. Funny you say that. I would have answered the exact same way if you asked me that question. Sorry, man. I'm faded than a hoe right now, and I just got hit with that memory wipe. So what you say again? Oh shit, you high too? Duh, I'm at the store. What else would I be? For sure. You trying to hit up that candy section though? Damn dog, you read my mind. Unfortunately, social situations can be pretty tough if you're not an experienced blazer, especially if you're talking to people you want to leave a good impression on. But remember, if you're ever in irreversible trouble and you have no idea what to respond, just say, that's crazy, bruh, but I'm way too faded right now. I'm sorry, I don't think I quite understand.
I said that I'm faded than a hoe up in this bit.
No, Charles, you're fired.
Sometimes you do stuff that you shouldn't do, or at least you thought you shouldn't do, like mixing a mega pack of magic mushrooms with a ton of ultra fine Amsterdam Zaza. But I'll be damned if I was gonna give up on my one chance of pushing the limits of wonder and end up being some grumpy old man talking about what could have been.
When I was your age.
Shut up, Grandpa. When you was my age, you was a scarf knitting, romance watching, Toyota Prius driving, zero hoes getting pussy. Now shut up and give me my $20 birthday money, you fool. Anyway, so it begins with me and my brother in Amsterdam, yet again. It's our last day there and we're looking to end this trip off with a bang. We stumbled into one of those magic stores that sold all of these crazy substances, literally shelves stocked with little vials of liquid that had specific effects comparable to every drug you can think of. But we had our eyes set on something a little more natural,
a little more psychedelic.
A mega pack of Space Hawaiians. We grabbed those shrooms and brought them up to the counter, feeling like some kids at a toy store buying their first Beyblades.
So, how much should we take? All of it? What's the trip like? Cool. Anything else we should know?
Don't be a pussy, I guess. Can we mix this with the Zaza? No, do not mix it with the Zaza. Okay. Jeez, can't be that bad. Okay. Well, if you want to end up like that guy, be my guest. But no, you were warned. So anyway, we got the shrooms and left the store. But after what that guy said, I was low-key scared of these things. And on our way to the hotel, I started Googling like a machine. Reading every forum post about mixing shrooms and weed. And well, I'd say about 80% said not to do it. But man, the other 20% were hyping it up like crazy. Saying that it was the coolest experience they've ever had. And how you become one with the universe or some shit. We got to the hotel and instantly downed those Space Hawaiians. And started waiting for it to kick. Hey, is it hitting it? Nah, not yet. You feel anything? Nah, still nothing. Then bang! Bruh, I'm feeling it. Yeah, boy. We started doing the usual mushroom things, like looking at stuff, thinking about stuff, talking about stuff. But after a while, we got the genius idea to go to the red light district. If you don't know what that is, well, it's pretty much a street full of sex workers lined up trying to get you to come pay for that sloppy toppy 5,000. We went outside and brought our massive joint with us and started walking to where the hoes at, literally, and start puffing that hash. Mind that we are already completely shroomed up, so I'm a little worried about what this gonna do to us. It's either gonna be cool as fuck or not so cool. So by the time we arrived at our destination, we had smoked that spliff to non-existence, and man, I was high. I was so high that I thought I was in a fucking cartoon. Like actually, the world didn't look how it usually looked. I felt like me and my brother were pretty much aliens walking among these local people trying to fit in. The building seemed tilted and people's faces were blurry to me. But thankfully that didn't freak me out because I was just so amazed of how goddamn soinked I was. At some point I started really feeling my brain. Like not just a piece of meat in my skull, but the neurons that were constantly firing off.
Meaning if I thought about moving my hand, I could feel my brain sending out the signal and how the electric pulse traveled through my body into my hand. So basically what I'm saying is, I felt like I was actually controlling this giant piece of meat that is my body like a goddamn mech suit. Anyway, what made this whole experience so trippy was the things we saw. The sex workers in the district were sitting or standing right behind these big windows and always had a red light to signal that they're here for business. But they seemed more like dolls than humans. They all looked the same. Giant fake lips, face painted with tons of makeup, and these skimpy ass dresses. Not gonna lie bro, it was low key freaking us out. Cause every time you walked past one of them, they looked at you, staring with those doll eyes, waiting for you to come closer so they can suck out your soul. Nah, they don't actually do that, but you know, that's the type of stuff you might believe if you mix cannabis with shrooms. We ended up walking around for like 1.5 hours until we got tired and went back to the hotel. But bro, those 1.5 hours, I swear, I was not on planet Earth. That mixture must have teleported me to the amazing world of Gumball universe or some shit, cause no way the things I felt and saw were of this world. But overall, we didn't freak out or have a bad trip or anything, so I'd rate this trip a 10 out of 10. Cause we had no issues really. After getting back to the hotel, we had the usual munchies and sleepiness. So really, that kush helped us out. Cause my experience with shrooms until this point was they don't let you sleep. But thanks to that fine natural grass, I slept like a baby.
If you've ever bought from a plug, you probably know about that teeny tiny voice in your head that goes, "What if it's laced, bro?" And although 99% of the time, that's just you being paranoid, the other 1%, it might be warranted. Which brings me to the time I was dead certain the grass I bought was laced. But you know, I still smoked it. The day started like any other. I woke up, ate my Captain Crunch, worked out, made some videos, and now after a productive day, was looking for some za to smoke up and watch some Elon Musk vs Zuckerberg fight breakdown videos. Personally, I got the Reptile King on this one. Anyway, the bad news was, I was out of grass. And even worse, the plug I usually buy from wasn't answering, so I had to get creative. First I tried to scrounge up a hit from smacking the shit out of my grinders and using a card to move it together like I was about to do a line in the back of the nightclub. But alas, after all my effort, I was left with only a smidgen of a hit that was 50% dust and dirt, so although I really didn't want to do it, I knew I had to start asking around for a new plug. And so I did. And after about 30 minutes, I was given the Snapchat of a seemingly high-level devious criminal, and I concluded that by his Snapchat username, which was free straight money emojis, and I'm guessing he chose this name just so everyone knew. I am a drug dealer and I make a lot of money. I shot him a message reading, "Yo, can I get one?" hoping that he would respond unlike all my other plugs, and just a few minutes later, I was blessed by a message reading, "Yeah, nice." All I needed to do now was ask when and where, which he responded swiftly with an address that was very close. So I hopped in my Urus. Sorry, I have a Lamborghini Urus. Yes, this is a fact. Spread the word, guys. And pulled up on the spot where I was expecting to greet a killer tattoo. Nah, actually, I'm too experienced now. I knew it was gonna be some high school kid. They're the ones who always use emojis for their plug Snapchats. And it was exactly what I thought. A scrawny looking kid with glasses pulled up, dropped the bag in my car, and dipped. Well, I also gave him the money, but nothing really different or alarming had happened during this altercation. As I was driving back home though, I took a quick little sniffington from the bag and well, that shit was smelling a bit sus. I can't quite describe the smell cause it did stank like good za. There was just a certain chemically fragrance to it as well, but regardless, I brought that za home and before I smoked, I did a bit of googling. How to know if your grass is laced? You can tell if your bud is laced by putting it in water and seeing if anything melts out of it. Bruh, ain't no way I'm putting this grass in some goddamn water. Ah, fuck, it seems good to me. So yeah, I didn't really practice a lot of precaution. I mean, worst case scenario, I accidentally smoked crack. But anyway, I loaded up the hit and took a smack dabbly do off that thing. And at first, I couldn't really tell nothing was wrong. I mean, I was on the couch feeling like a medium rare filet mignon, but that's just being baked. Until I suddenly started getting real paranoid for no reason. Like, not paranoid in what if it was laced, but paranoid in... Hey, what the fuck was that? Hello? I'll have you know I'm a certified demon hunting boxing champion, bruh. I'll knock your nun-ass out in an instant. Oh, hell nah. And yeah, you saw correctly. This got a grown-ass 6'6" athletic specimen of a man to go under his blanket cause he thought he heard a monster, bruh. And I swear, for the entirety of the night, I was low-key hearing things like I was an inmate in Arkham Asylum or something. So, safe to say the whole mellow me out part was negated by the paranoid demon fearing. At some point though, I got a serious case of the munchies, and I knew I had to leave my safe zone, aka my blanky wanky, and go downstairs to raid the fridge. And so I did, but this fucking dimensional rift grass got me bugging out, bro. I was feeling like I was 7 years old again, afraid of the boogeyman coming to take me away. Thankfully, I was able to tweak my way to 2 hood dogs and a couple of sugar sandwiches. Recipes I developed myself. Watch the video in the top corner if you want to know more. But once I got the food on my plate, I ran back upstairs being real careful not to stay in the darkness for too long. Basically, I was this old Vine video. Worst part was though that this so-called laced grass didn't let me sleep either. Like literally, I almost pulled an all-nighter looking like Golem up in my room. Until at 7 AM, I did finally somehow hit the hay. Anyway, this is the only time I ever actually believed grass to be laced, cause it just seems unprofitable to actually do that shit. But I'm still not sure, it might have just been some mighty paranoid demon grass. I guess we'll never know, cause the experience was awful enough for me to flush that shit down the toilet. RIP 0.8 Gs, bruh. And obviously, I removed that new plug from my friends list, cause I'm not trying to be the victim of our town's first supervillain, cause if that shit was indeed laced, no way I'm about to go buy some Joker gas from Dollar Store Heath Ledger again. Mushrooms are a lot like that one friend who is always talking and it kind of annoys you, but at the same time you love him cause you know he's always keeping it real with you. So if you are fiending for a third eye awakening on some Dragon Ball Super shit, you better be ready for the shroomy shrooms to take you through the depths of your unconscious, where it will dig out and highlight questions about your very fabric of existence like, who am I? Why are we here? Do I like men? But anyway, that doesn't happen the very instant you eat the shrooms. In fact, the stages of a mushroom trip are so different, each one of them could be considered a substance of their own. But the first stage everyone experiences is Stage 1, Ingestion/come up. Right after consuming those Mario power-ups, you might feel your stomach twist and turn a bit, as your body is signaling to you, this shit was not food, wasn't it? But thankfully, it's usually pretty minor and goes away after a few minutes. While waiting for the shrooms to kick, you probably stare at a bunch of random objects hoping to find some type of moving pattern, cause that's what shrooms are supposed to do, right? Well, yeah, kind of, but after 30 minutes goes by and you're still staring at the wall with no sign of visual hallucinations, you probably think to yourself, man, I got scammed, didn't I? But then you start really thinking about it. Are you feeling something? And then you think about the next thing, and the next thing, and then you might laugh at something completely random like this picture of SpongeBob, and boom, you now realize they weren't duds, and you're about to go on a journey, bro. Also, after all this, you probably move on to Stage 2, Questions that lead to more questions. You're at the point now where you know the shroom's kicking, but you don't really see any visuals except for maybe the increased significance of every object. But the main thing is, you have started questioning everything you know, but not in a scary way of, nothing matters, there is no point. More of a, man, I love hanging out with Charlie. Wait, do I though? What type of person is he actually? He's friendly, but kinda secretive and keeps to himself. What is he keeping to himself? Could he be a totally different person? Am I becoming a better person by hanging out with him? What is going on? So yeah, this stage can be very eye-opening to some, especially if you're the type of person to hang on to problems and worries instead of facing them. Because however hard you try not to think about something, the shrooms won't let you. And although it might seem like that's a bad thing, it's actually not. And you should treat this time of the trip to pinpoint the main questions you would like to receive some type of answers to by the end. Because soon after, you're gonna go to Stage 3. Holy shit! The mushrooms are now almost at full effect, and you're definitely seeing some hallucinations, like moving patterns, disfigured items, wavy hands, etc. But to be honest, that isn't really the main thing, because if you approach this trip with the right mindset, as in you wanted to actually take something with you to the real world afterwards, then currently you are most likely intensely trying to piece together the answers to the questions you highlighted on the previous stage. But it ain't as easy as it seems. It feels like you were constantly on a breakthrough to something really important and significant, but then you lose it and have to start again with the pieces you left off with. But if you stick with it, you'll always figure something out. Maybe not the full picture, but something. Also, you shouldn't blame yourself if you start talking or thinking about something that you feel is very amazing, but then halfway through realize you literally pondering about the implications of the evolution of the Pringles Man logo, bruh. But not to worry, that's the beauty of shrooms. They make you think about everything on a deeper level, and if you can find the correct things to think about through the clutter of Matrix conspiracy theories, you'll still emerge victorious. Speaking about emerging, the next stage is Stage 4. The slow come down. You are now slowly coming down from the shrooms, which is indicated by the fact you don't see as many trippy patterns anymore, but also you're more realistic in your thoughts as well. Also, at this point, you probably aren't bouncing from thought to thought as much anymore and have chosen a definitive couple of things to think about. And with those things, you will find answers, but also a lot of new questions, which can be frustrating, well, until you get to the next and final stage. Stage 5. Journey complete. At this point, you have almost completely came down from the magic, but not really, because although you don't see any hallucinations anymore, you feel more in touch with reality and yourself. The best way I can describe this stage is like it's the fruit of your labor. This is the stage where you've gone through the constant questions and search for answers and come out victorious. Best way I can describe it is like you're high off some Zaza, but with a much clearer head. So this is the perfect time to play some video games, watch a movie, or do really anything you find fun. I think all of us here have been high before, and probably drunk too. But have you been both at the same time? Crossfaded. Getting this mixture right is unfortunately quite hard, cause if you smoke too much, you'll be reduced from Mr. Life of the party into a disabled slab of meat on the couch, where you'll spend your night alternating between scrolling TikToks and eating Doritos from your belly. But man, you get this concoction of THC and alcohol right, and the two chemicals will fuse with each other and create something more than they were separately. You'll become Stage 7. I'm so fucked up, man. Nah, but for real, you know how the magic spice makes everything interesting, but at the same time it throws you in the 10x gravity chamber with Vegeta, so every drop of energy you spend feels like you just ran the 100 meters and barely clinched the win over Usain Bolt. Well, the Henny will fix that for you, so if you get the mix right, everybody's stories and conversations will become 5 times more interesting. But at the same time, you also riling off the Henny, so you got the energy to do stupid shit while being zoinked out of your mind. Hey bro, what you doing up here? Shit, we about to jump into the pool, fool! Ain't it a little small? Nah man, it's good, look at this! Hey bro, can you call the ambulance? I'm actually in very serious pain right now. Okay, so I've talked about how awesome it can be, but man, if you're actually wasted, don't smoke the za, cause the za makes it very hard to vomit, and if you're drunk as fuck, you can see how that can be very dangerous. But man, I swear, these guys be enemies one day and best friends the next, cause if you know anything about science like I do, then you know that the best cure for a hangover is that Cali exotic bud. So I always pack that first aid kit for the morning after the party. It can even be used as a vaccine, kind of. So by that I mean if you smoke up before a night out, your hangover won't be nearly as bad. I don't know, at least that's how it works for me. But bro, this one time I was celebrating my high school graduation by going camping with our entire class, and you know your boy got straight obliterated off the Henny and za. But thankfully in the morning I wasn't feeling too bad, but I felt it getting worse, so I went to my homie Salamander and politely asked, "Shall we partake in the rotation of the spliff, my dear man?" "Yes, I believe that is a stupendous idea." "Fabulous, shall we?" "We shall." And after that holy rotation, I was suddenly cured and went on to spend the whole day hanging out with our class in castle ruins, museums, boring shit like that. But once we got back to our campsite and my high had almost faded, I suddenly got real sleepy and I wasn't feeling so good. So me being the total geek I am, went to bed at 9 p.m. on my last day before I never saw these people again. And it must have been divine punishment or something, cause I woke up with my first and worst hangover I've had. And here's the kicker, I was out of kush, feeling like a badly programmed NPC. I hated everything that wasn't lying on the ground, fading in and out of sleep. Worst part was, everybody started packing and getting ready to leave, whilst I was in the most agonizing state my body had ever been in. I'm usually one to push through the bad trip or not feeling so good, but that day I was absolutely defeated by mortal man's only weakness, hoes and booze. I guess what I'm trying to say is, being crossfaded is usually a hit or miss. You either have the time of your life or you overdo it and end up being the weirdo at the function who falls asleep on the couch overnight, or even just blazes up at home and just forgets to even go to the party.
Wait, why am I even going to this party?
Do you remember 2018/19 when kids were puffing Juuls like they were the new and improved oxygen? Then around the same time we had mofos slinging black market boof, carts, and dispos, which led to thousands of people hospitalized and tens dead. Basically, the Juuls screwed kids long term, trying their best to get the new generation addicted to Nick, and the black market boof dispos were out here stacking kills short term like the match was about to end and they were one off the nuclear. What a crazy time to be alive. Thank God they regulated that stuff now, and it's starting again. Yeah, so I don't know if it's just me, but I've been seeing a bunch of videos about stuff like the shroom vape, the DMT cart, a freaking opioid vape. Although this stuff isn't a widespread pandemic yet, it's still crazy to see how far some people will go to make a couple bucks. Like, bro, just sell grass. Anyway, today we're gonna go over the absolute most stupid and dangerous vapes that are being flinged online, on the streets, or even smoke shops, so you can watch out for them and hopefully tell the dude selling them to stop it and get some help. As an extra disclaimer, do not under any circumstances ever try these. They are unregulated as fuck, and I bet most of them are tested by a toddler with a chemistry kit, if at all. This video is purely educational and is here to serve you as an informative warning, so if you ever spot these horrid creations, you can run away as fast as possible, which especially applies for the last one on the list. Anyway, first up, the mushroom vape. I, along with over 1 million people, learned about the shroom vape from a scientist called Goblin, who made a video about it where he even tested it and analyzed the lab test results, where the conclusion was that it's filled with a bunch of random substances and definitely not a mushroom vape. That's because the active compound in mushrooms, psilocybin, that makes you high, literally cannot be consumed from a vape, as psilocybin breaks down when heated. So what exactly are you smoking when using the shroom vape? Well, who knows? It should be 4-ASO DMT, a lab-made cousin of shrooms, which turns into psilocin in your body, or something entirely different. Could be DMT, could be sadness in liquid form, you just don't know, and the creators of the thing are probably as clueless as the consumer. Although when Goblin tried it, he didn't feel anything besides a minor head rush, you might not be as lucky. Because of how ratchet these things are, I can't rule out the possibility that you might smoke it once, feel nothing, then pass it to your friend who takes one puff and gets psychosis for a month. We just don't know, which is why I made this list. You're basically trusting some rinky-dinky home chemist with something as complicated as your brain's chemistry. Absolute best case, you get something similar to a mushroom trip. Likely case, you feel nothing, and worst case, you're brain dead. So if you ever see a shroom vape in your local smoke shop, make sure you ask the clerk what's in it, and if he says mushrooms, you know he is a liar and kind of a scumbag. Find a new spot. Next one is probably the least dangerous one on the list, like long term, but short term, it's a bit too convenient for what it does, and oh boy, it does a lot. It is the DMT vape. Why I say this one is the least dangerous is that unlike the shroom vape, which literally just cannot exist because psilocybin isn't smokable, DMT is, so at least you're getting what is advertised. Well, actually, considering to get your hands on this, you either need to buy from a plug or a sketchy smoke shop, it could also just be fent. Anyway, why I still believe this is dangerous is that coming from someone who has tried DMT, although not like physically addictive, that shit leaves you staggered like a freaking flashbang, bro. And having something like that ready to smoke 24/7 in the palm
palm of your hand looking like a USB stick, I just don't see that ending well for the majority of people. Like, bro, I've done my share of psychedelics, but DMT is like a portal to another universe. I mean, if you really puff that stuff, you're out of it. Dunsies, bozo. And the thing with having it in a dispo is that they tend to be inconsistent. Like, you can do one puff, feel nothing, do one more, and you're on the moon discussing philosophy with Rocky Balboa. Also, just think about this. Ancient shamans spent days fasting to meet the cosmic machine elves. You met them while sitting on your toilet scrolling TikTok. Kinda defeats the whole purpose of the stuff if you ask me. But well, if you're getting it from a trusted source, at least you can comfort in the fact that you're not smoking some Breaking Bad science experiment like with the shroom vape. Anyway, there's still 2 insane and dangerous vapes left, and they're gonna get really messed up from here, bro. So get ready to be baffled at the dark side of capitalism with the ketamine vape, or K-Pods. Don't get K-Pods mixed up with K-Pop. One is a schedule-free anesthetic abused by many to feel numb, detached, and probably listen to some weird-ass music. And K-Pop, well, you know what K-Pop is. Anyway, I don't think I have to explain to you why having a ketamine vape is not a good thing, as most people, including myself, are instantly put off by a drug that's main way of digestion is snorting it into your nose, which, unless you live in Wall Street, is the first sign of becoming a drug fiend. But with the invention of the K-Pod, or ketamine vape, we have made the barrier of entry much easier. I know my dumb teen self would have maybe even considered trying this stuff if I knew I could just inhale it from a vape, which is all the reason I need to put it on the list. Like, what's next? The crack pen? The Molly cart? The heroin juice? Probably shouldn't have said that. I'm already imagining the seller of one of these things having his notebook out like, he said crack pen? Interesting. Hey John, any loophole we can use to sell crack on Amazon? And well, I guess I'll just quickly go over the side effects of ketamine abuse, which the most famous one is obviously K-bladder. This is still 100% a thing, vape or not. Ketamine is ketamine. Vaping doesn't save your bladder from chronic exposure. Long-term heavy use can cause constant need to pee, pain, bleeding, bladder shrinkage, requiring surgery in severe cases, cognitive damage, memory issues, attention problems, disassociation leakage, feeling floaty even when sober, and more. Overall, I'd say that K-Vape is a disgrace to humanity and the wonderful people who created the technology that make this stuff possible, because they probably didn't intend for the next generation to fling something called K-Pods. But now for the final vape that, unlike the previous ones, is actually pretty widespread and, in my opinion, the most dangerous. The Opioid vape, or 7-0. This is what happens when someone looks at kratom, which is already addictive on its own, and thinks, what if I removed all the plant matter, concentrated only the part that matters, and then made it vapable? Congratulations, that's 7-hydromyctoxytric. Okay, 7-0, the main active opioid metabolite of kratom, and the real punch behind kratom's mild tea facade. And unlike the shroom vape, which the scientist Goblin tried to basically no effect, after smoking the 7-0 vape, he almost instantly felt his body get heavy and his mind get foggy. He compared his free puffs to taking half a Xan, which is pretty insane considering there is a lot more than free puffs in those things. The case that the companies selling this stuff try to make is, oh well, it helps recovering opioid addicts, which okay, fair, but then they go right ahead and market the stuff as the new Quaaludes or party pills, which I forgot to mention, they're also sold in pill form. Never do they mention the fact that 7-0 binds up to 13 times stronger to your brain's opioid receptors than morphine, which in fact makes it way stronger. The worst part is smoke shops are making bank with these products, and do you think it's from recovering opioid addicts? Hell no. For kratom, which is like the natural opioid, I can see how you'd make a case for it as a recovery drug, but 7-0, although marketed as natural, is found in very small amounts in kratom, and then they use a chemical reaction to synthesize more of it, with the end result being a quote-unquote natural opioid up to 13 times stronger than morphine. Sounds legal, right? For real though, how this stuff is legal and sold in smoke shops, I do not know. One thing I do know is that the people who sell this stuff are scumbags and stay the hell away from it at all costs, because it's one of those things that you can try once and get hooked instantly, and the withdrawal symptoms are so bad people have needed medical help to get off the stuff. So yeah, if I had a magic wand imbued with the power of the Supreme Court and Congress, and I could only wave it once, I'd ban 7-0, as from what I understand, this is by far the most widespread substance on this list, and also the most dangerous.
The wake and bake is a legendary art form created by humans of the highest intellect. The act of waking from one slumber and immediately entering into Yodi land is a sacred practice known only to the chillest of creatures. There has been a lot of controversy in the meaning of wake and bake. Some say it can only truly be called the holy practice if one smokes up immediately after awakening from dreamland. Others, including myself, believe it is not necessary to sleep next to your crusty last cleaned in 2007 smelling like a rotting can of tuna ass piece of glass. Cause I don't know about you, but personally I like to start my mornings off with something nice, like a coffee or some bacon and eggs, not the taste of water in my mouth whilst coughing my lungs out. I believe a true connoisseur won't partake in such barbaric activities and will at least put some pants on before smoking that doozy. Now, if you ever participated in the wake and bake, you will know that it hits differently than, let's say, an evening bake, but only if you got the whole day free, cause the Zaza will amplify your excitement for the coming day, or until you eat breakfast and pass out on your bed. Back in summer, I used to bake after the wake quite a bit. It was always really nice to just go outside to the warm sun while smoking that morning pack. And bro, don't get me started on those breakfast munchies. I'm usually the guy to only drink coffee or something for breakfast, but that early morning grass gets me on that Nico Cotto avocado pack, I swear.
Bro, how much are you going to eat?
Everything. And after a delightful breakfast like that, how can you be anything but energized? Nah, in reality, after destroying 2,000 calories of Twinkies, you're probably gonna pass out in 20 minutes. But that's why after the first couple times, I created the 3 golden rules of a productive wake and bake. Number 1. Don't have a demonic ritual that involves you sacrificing 15 hot pockets in your stomach. But you just said that the breakfast munchies are nice. Yeah, they are, but you have to treat the massive breakfast kind of like drinking alcohol. So you gotta understand the sacrifice you are making by having that giant breakfast. You are effectively done for the day, as you will most likely fall right back to sleep after, and then when you do wake up from your 3-hour morning nap, you'll feel all hazy and bad, cause you just wasted your whole day. Lazy piece of shit. So if you want to avoid that, don't wake and munch. Number 2. Make a plan the night before. Have goals set for the day. Basic stuff like buy groceries, maybe work out, hang with some friends, stuff like that. Cause when you have a plan the night before, you are much less likely to just sleep the whole day and then at night feel like a lazy fat tub of lard. But also keep in mind, you are supposed to have fun on a wake and bake, so don't make the objectives too hard cause you're probably just not gonna do them then. Some of my favorite wake and bake activities include going to the gym, playing a team sport, playing a story game, bathing in the sun, going to the store, hanging out with the homies, etc. Anyway, time for the last rule, which is number 3. Don't get obliterated on the wake and bake. So this one is kinda obvious, but important nonetheless. It might seem like a great idea to get soinked up to nines on your first hit, but in reality, all that will do is spoil the plans you set the night before. Cause no matter how productive of a smoker you are, when you're faded to the max, there is about a 95% chance you'll tell yourself, ugh, whatever, I'll do it tomorrow. Which once evening rolls around, will hit you with that existential depression. And the only way to escape from that is with the purest form of productivity. We've all had it, we all know it. 2 a.m. motivation.
The drugs, the cigarettes, that dumb bitch. It all starts fucking today, alright? No more fucking excuses. This is the year of the fucking soldier.
And I mean, even though who doesn't love a bit of midnight motivation, it won't get you anywhere in the long term, and really is usually just a sign of doing nothing useful during the day. But hey, if you follow these 3 golden rules, I'm sure your future wake and bakes will be much more productive and fun. At least I hope so.
Do you smoke? A question that has been asked frequently ever since the early 1900s, but unlike the early 1900s where that question was mostly targeted towards cigarettes, these days, depending on your age and location of course, it probably means, do you enjoy sparking up a doozy at 8 p.m. to either watch Family Guy or ponder the meaning of life? No in between. Which, although smoking anything is harmful for us, I do believe we are moving in the right direction, aka the direction of less addictive cancerous chemicals. But don't get me wrong, Zaza is not good nor never will be good for your physical health. Although one can make the argument for mental health, only problem being 90% of that stems from, I feel like it helps, or I'm happier when I'm high, which in no way confronts the root of the problem, but rather serves as a temporary solution. But who am I to tell you if you're smoking too much weed, bruh? You have to figure that out yourself, because every situation is different. What I can and will do in this video though, is outline every level of cannabis consumption, how they may affect your health and life, and give you a better understanding of when and how a semi-unhealthy controlled hobby can turn into a straight-up addiction, to hopefully educate the public about the the most important thing when it comes to anything in life: moderation. So let's start off with level 1. A casual. The casual is someone who smokes up only on occasions and almost exclusively with friends or family. At this level, you might be sparking up once or twice a month when a homie invites you over to hang out. And the reality is, you don't even really care about the weed part so much as the hang out part. You understand that smoking isn't good for you, but you also know the person you chill with likes to do so. And who are you to tell your friend how he or she should live his life? This is truly a wonderful level to be at, as being high is always eventful and joyful. Unless, you green out. It is until the next level, which is level 2, the weekend smoker. The weekend smoker is someone who has evolved from only getting high for the sake of being on the same wavelength as the homie to someone who has grown to enjoy the effects of marijuana even alone. But don't get me wrong, you are still aware that smoking is not healthy, but you also know eating Ruffles is not healthy, doom scrolling is not healthy, yet you still do them from time to time. Getting high has become something you look forward to, but since you're not smoking up every night, it's usually always accompanied with some activity you have in mind, aka I can't wait for Friday so I can smoke up and play Minecraft. I'm excited for Saturday so I can smoke up and watch Dragon Ball Super. Something like that. At this level, you're also definitely not smoking up frequently enough to start worrying about the financial implications buying weed comes with. At most, you're getting an eighth once a week and rolling a couple J's, or maybe if your friend was generous, he'll give you his old bong.
Protected with your life.
Personally, this is the level I have tried to stay at, but well, it's kind of hard because at this point you have your own weed, and if you're doing something fun at night, it kind of tempts you to do it, well, high. And once you give into that temptation, you'll move up to level 3. The daily reward. You've come to really enjoy your weekend highs, so much so that you've decided, screw it, it's Tuesday, there'll be no hangover like with alcohol. Yeah, I'ma smoke up. I would consider this level the last one where you can still say you are not addicted, just really enjoy hanging around while high. The only problem being, weed has become an integral part of your routine, which has removed some of the wonder that accompanied it in the previous levels. As before, being faded got you moving extremely irregular, but since irregular depends on your perspective of regular and you're pretty regularly high, your actions while under the influence, although still fun, don't make you feel that, oh shit. Where I'm going with this is that before the idea of doing your daytime activities while high seems scary, now they kind of seem like they might be a bit more fun instead. Also, you now know about strains, hybrid, indica, sativa. All these terms mean something to you. You might even have multiple strains at the crib, and depending on your nighttime mood and plan, you'll indulge in the one that suits you best. Whether you're looking to unwind after a long day or energize for a night out, there's a perfect strain to match every occasion. But don't get me wrong, you're still using the ZA as a sort of reward for a hard day's work to relax and chill, so you still have self-control, which, well, kind of starts fading on level 4. Gee, why not? Why not, you think? I ain't really got nothing much to do anyway, I'll just do a quick rip and make it more enjoyable. Getting high during the day can be a slippery slope, cause once you do, you'll realize that, wow, this is kind of fun. And so you might start dedicating your sativa stash to your daytime adventures, but there is a catch, a rather steep price you must pay when you reach this level. Because you are now high during the day, smoking up at night loses that reward factor it used to have. You're slowly getting to the point where the feeling of normality is being faded, and due to that, getting high at the end of your day is just standard procedure, not your special fun time, if you get what I'm saying. Another huge difference that comes at this level is of course your tolerance, which has gone way up along with your money spent on weed. And to counteract those, you have had to start buying in bulk. So instead of eighths, you now have ounces. But holding so much bud is a double-edged sword, as having over an ounce available at any given time also messes with your sense of how much you're actually smoking. Whereas one full bowl of bud taken from a grinded eighth visibly decreases the amount you have left, a full bowl taken from a grinded ounce seems like nothing. Which all of these things compound, kind of like the stock market. You're taking bigger and bigger hits each day, which most people would start to realize that at this point, it's kind of hard to label your Zaza destruction as a controlled hobby when you're not just high during your night goblin time, but also your daytime, and start lowering your consumption. But if you are not most people and still believe that you are in control, you'll move on to level 5. Zaza fiend. A cigarette smoker can smoke a pack a day, which is not so good for your lungs. A Zaza fiend can smoke 5 to 10 J's a day, which is also not so good for your lungs. Whereas before, you could point to that cigarette smoker and say, "You smoke the same amount in a day that I do in a month. We are not the same." Now you point at him and he points right back, which kinda sucks, not gonna lie. Being high has completely lost its wonder. It's more a monthly subscription to live your life normally and be in an alright mood now. You'll start to notice you got a bit of a cough. You got some stuck at the back of your throat pretty often, and you also can't remember what you did 2 days ago and beyond.
Oh no, I was high as balls.
You say jokingly, holding back your tears, because the reality is you weren't high as balls. You smoked a lot of weed, yes, but you weren't all that high, just normal high. Although you can't really get physically addicted to weed, you absolutely can mentally. I can quit at any time, you might think, and you could maybe, but oh boy, it will not be easy. Wanna play a game? Gotta get high. Wanna watch a movie? Gotta get high. Need to go to the store? Might as well get high. Everything is done high. Your lungs have not gotten a break to cleanse themselves, and your brain has not gotten a break either. In fact, it has gotten so used to being high, it feels pretty shitty without it. We could talk about your tolerance, but well, you probably know where that's at. On that maxed out endgame plus level. Personally, I've only ever gotten this far once, back when I was in high school and it was summer break, because I learned pretty quick that, well, it's by far the worst level to be at. You're smoking an insane amount, sometimes even back-to-back bong rips, but the feeling you get from it is not even that fun. On top of that, you're spending an unholy amount of money on bud. I mean, it's gotten so bad, your monthly Zaza costs might literally exceed your grocery budget. Got you setting aside half your paycheck just so you can feel okay. Might be time for a tea break, don't you think? All these levels are supposed to just give you a reference to where you're at, and the reality is you'll probably be bouncing around them, not stick to one forever. I usually try to keep my consumption on level 2 or 3, but that doesn't mean I don't dabble with the 4th level from time to time when, like, I don't know, a new Monster Hunter game comes out and I want to fully immerse myself in its world by getting an ounce of Zaza, locking myself in my gaming dungeon and going into goblin mode for a week. Just whatever you do, don't ever get to the last level. There's literally nothing positive about that place. Key takeaway, moderation is your best friend. 10,000 BC, a group of cavemen in the Oki Islands of Japan needed some warmth and wanted to start a fire when they discovered a funny looking green plant, and either out of curiosity or desperation took it and inadvertently created history's first ever hotbox. Yet this early grass was not that loud that people be smoking today, because as we know, over the years the Za has been scientifically and artificially cultivated to be much more concentrated in the high it gives. So although it is funny to think about a group of cavemen purposely starting a fire in a small shelter for the sole purpose of getting faded in a hoe, it is unlikely that it actually ever happened. Yet aside from this iffy recreational stint in Japan, hemp was first commonly used in the lands that are modern day Mongolia and China for more practical uses like eating it. Which, after saying that, you might be imagining something like this. Yo, what's up? How you doing? Had any fun with those new seeds I gave you?
Yo, nah, I actually came here to give them back. Last night I was looking at the moon and I swear that motherfucker was looking right back at me.
But alas, this probably wasn't the reality, because the THC levels in this early cultivated Zaza were just really low, but soon the Chinese would discover that the holy plant's fibers were also great for making stuff too, like clothes, paper, and bowstrings. Which turns out hemp fibers were superior to the bamboo ones used by rivaling factions, allowing the Chinese to shoot their arrows much further. So basically, back in the day, if you were having a long distance bow battle and were losing, you might have screamed out, "We need to get closer! These motherfuckers have weed!" Anyway, it wasn't long after when mofos realized that the loud wasn't only good for making stuff, it was also great for treating physical maladies. And after a couple thousand years, Emperor Shen Nung, known as the father of Chinese medicine, included the magic plant in his medical encyclopedia under the name Ma. Which, that sounds oddly similar to Za, doesn't it? I'm guessing every couple thousand years the first letter changes or something. But now, let's explore the question we're all asking. When exactly did mofos start ripping that shit to get faded? Well, one of the earliest counts is about 2,500 years ago, when researchers discovered 10 mini barbecues in a cemetery near modern-day Tajikistan that had residue of burnt cannabis with a much higher concentration of THC than normal, probably meaning it was selectively bred to get you, well, lit. Although this was one of the first counts of people purposely inhaling the broccoli to get high, it was most likely used as part of a ritual to invoke an altered state of mind so you could communicate with spirits. Which shit, dog, I wanna know what these dudes were smoking, cause I ain't never heard of no grass that gets you to the spirit realm. This might have low-key been the last kush Snoop Dogg smoked, cause once you get so high you start communicating with your dead gran-gran, that's when you really might be like, okay, I think it's about time I stop smoking this shit. Since cannabis, for one reason or another, proved to be quite the useful plant, people started trading it around the world as soon as it was domesticated. Which the only people who didn't really fuck with the Zaza were Europeans, who preferred getting hammered instead. Which is low-key reflected in modern times too, especially in the northern countries where once you turn 18, you can drink as much poison as you want, but if you want to blaze, well, you might be looking at a little bit of jail time, my boy. But now, let's quickly go over the uses of cannabis throughout different cultures so we can move on to the modern age, starting with Hindus. They made something called bang, an edible cannabis paste that had medicinal properties but also got you high. This could be added to a variety of foods and drinks, which this bang was the preferred food of the Hindu god Shiva, making him in my eyes the god of edibles. Disclaimer, that was a joke. Islam. Here the Za was called hashish and was introduced about 1,000 years ago, which hashish wasn't strictly forbidden in the Quran at first, so a lot of Muslims ate it for its medicinal and relaxation properties. But later, Egypt basically banned it, and also the Quran was revisited by many and reinterpreted to include hashish to be banned just like alcohol. The Vikings. These dudes basically used the Za to make rope, sailcloth, and other things, but also for its medicinal properties, mostly to relieve pain, and to date, there's no hard evidence that they consumed it for its recreational use, but you know, maybe they should have, because they were quite the horrendous savages and murderers, so it might have made them think a little bit about peace and love. But what about America, England, and the actual global world powers? How did they react to weed? Well, again, like the Chinese, Europeans and Americans at first prominently used the magic green plant in the 16th to 18th century for more practical things like making sailcloth and rope, which the plant itself grew much larger in the New World soil, and combined with the practicality of it, everything started being hemp-derived. Clothes, paper, well, basically anything that required fibers. But the question still remains, when did mofos start smoking that shit to get blasted on the regular? Cause although at some point you, your neighbor, your grandma, your boss, and even George Washington were out here growing weed, wasn't nobody out here rolling them up. Well, until the arrival of Mexicans. The loud version of hemp first arrived in Brazil in the early 1500s by way of enslaved Africans traveling with the Portuguese. And the native South Americans, who are already consuming some other psychoactive substances, quickly started blazing the Zaza too, and its use soon spread across South America and into Mexico, from which in the 1910s is when the loud first spread into the US, via Mexican immigrants escaping the effects of the Mexican Revolution. And almost immediately the good was viewed as a threat, and by 1931, 29 states had banned its use. Although it wasn't really the Zaza that the US didn't fall with, it was unfortunately mostly just racism against Mexican Americans and black citizens of the South, which both these groups were enjoyers of the Za to some regard, so it became a scapegoat for racial bias in the US, and they blamed it for everything from petty crimes all the way to murder. And in 1937, the US completely banned all non-medical use of weed, which all of this kind of explains why the mostly peaceful plant has been thrown in the same Schedule 1 category with full-on life-destroying substances like heroin and cocaine. But thankfully, a couple decades later came the hippie movement of the 1960s to 1970s. This is what lightly sparked the comeback for weed, cause unlike before, when the Zaza was mostly smoked by Mexican immigrants and black citizens who the US was massively racist against, the hippie movement had middle-class white American youth start blazing too. Which it was all about love, peace, spirituality, non-violence, and of course, every hippie's favorite, recreational drug use. Although most hippies were all about peace and love, that was quite easy to say when most of them were literally privileged enough to drop out of college, run off with Cassandra in a rainbow van, go on copious amounts of mindset-altering trips, mostly powered by LSD, and then return 10 years later to their parents and have them say,
"It's okay, son. I was young and stupid once too."
Anyway, although the grass was still federally illegal, this didn't really do much, cause in 1976, 1 in 8 Americans over the age of 12 admitted to smoking it in the past 30 days. Hippies though were especially interested in cannabis, so much so they went on something called the Hippie Trail, which was basically an excursion by the youths of the world to go over to the Middle East and India, all while riding in magic buses and discovering new ways to get absolutely blasted, such as smoking the concentrated Zaza resin known as hash. But acquiring the Zaza would soon get much harder, because you see, most of it came from Mexico, so in 1969 the US started patrolling the border, and in 1975 they got even more aggressive and started spraying herbicide on Mexican weed plants. And so good old supply and demand made grass prices skyrocket, which a lot of people started then growing the plant themselves in mini greenhouses, closets, bathtubs, storage units, basements, wherever they could. But then in 1982, Mr. Smarty Pants Ronald Reagan took it even a step further by encouraging the streamlined arrest of anyone in possession of an illegal substance, which was really dumb because most of the focus was on pot, all while crack, meth, and heroin were all still being transported and consumed on a regular basis. Even worse, this enforcement seemed to be racially motivated because despite plenty of traffickers and consumers being white, the majority of arrests were Latino and black youths, all while this bizarre over-focus on cannabis allowed the growing opioid epidemic to go unchecked. But thankfully, the US is slowly learning from their mistakes, where today 24 states have legalized the recreational use of marijuana. On top of that, the increased level of research on it has also found multiple medical use cases and can be prescribed to you by special doctors if seen fit. And although the Zaza is still federally illegal and a Schedule 1 drug, the overall perception of it has changed for the better, including in December 2022 when President Biden signed a bill to make it easier for researchers to obtain plants for their studies, which will hopefully accelerate the learning of positive and negative side effects of consuming the ZA even further. But all that aside, the overall vibe towards the loud has gotten a lot more accepting, and these days more and more people view the smoking of the grass not as you being a junkie, but the same way as having a couple beers with the homies on a Friday night and watching some WWE.
You know, back in the day, if you wanted to get high discreetly, well, sorry bro, there was no way. I mean, you got the J, which stanks up everything. You got the bong, which although doesn't stank as much, where you gonna hide it? Imagine trying to sneak by your parents on some... What you doing dropping shit at a time like this, boy? Downstairs, I came down, I wanted a glass of water, yeah. Boy, you must be neurologically disabled if you think that'll excuse you from breaking some dusty-ass dollar store piece and spilling bong water all over my goddamn living room. No, it's... Here, take a smack of this shit. It'll get you proper, boy. Well, that sounds like a pretty fun... Anyway, point is, you're not gonna be hiding that shit for long. Only real option you had was the pipe. But bro, at that point, you sacrificing everything you got for one high. Like, I swear, the pipe is the last way anybody in their right mind wants to get faded. Every time I hit it, it's like my lungs and throat revert back to factory settings, like I ain't never inhaled anything besides O2 before. Basically, by smacking the pipe, you're hurting your lungs and throat to the point it kind of fucks up the first 30 minutes of your high. And that's exactly why when the first Benjamin was invented by the scientists at Yodiland, it changed the game, bruh. Never before could you get obliterated on the go regardless of where you were or what you were doing. And thanks to that, getting high has become so damn easy, you got motherfuckers making obliteration their normal state. Never before could someone do anything even remotely sus and you could just assume they were fucking high. My man had sunglasses on for no reason, faded. Dude was staring somewhere for a bit too long, obliterated. Dude went to White Castle for a culinary experience. Well, that motherfucker's just weird. Goddamn cafeteria food. And you can forget about gas stations and fast food places. I mean, at this point, it's like damn near mandatory to be blasted on the job. And I got nothing against that, just since 90% of the time I find myself at 7-Eleven, I'm fried too, and the motherfucker that's supposed to be helping me is trying to scan my items with his damn iPhone. Nah, but for real, the pace that these fried motherfuckers work at is fine when your brain is running at the same low frequency, but if you're in a rush, it'll take damn near every ounce of mental strength you got to stop yourself from forcing a damn self-checkout. Would you like a bag with that, sir?
Fuck no, here's the money, just give me my shit. But don't get me wrong, I got nothing against a good old Benjamin. There really ain't a better on-the-go, fast and easy way to get faded. Unfortunately, I didn't go to college and kinda cheated my way through high school too, so the 15 or so brain cells I was able to develop that keep me from losing and forgetting shit turned into, well, basically zero. And for that reason, I've already lost 2 of them. One of them slipped out my pocket while I was at the movies, and I'm pretty sure some teenagers stole it, cause after the film, when I was looking for it with my flashlight and shit, these motherfuckers were giggling in the back, looking at me like I was a damn circus clown. Coupled with the fact I was fried as fuck, I was fighting my tears, dog. I just got robbed by some damn teens, and I can't even do shit, cause it was illegal to even bring it in there. Second one I lost in a very similar manner. As I was getting out my Uber going back home, my sweatpants did me dirty and flinged that fucker out as I was standing up. Took me 2 minutes to realize, and when I did, my Uber driver was probably already hitting that shit, cause when I called him back to ask for it, he said,
Let me check. It seems that you only left me a $1 tip. Sorry, I couldn't find it.
And that one hurt the most because that was the first pen I ever had and the one I used for my first Benjamin adventure, which my first time was, well, by far the highest I have ever been in my life. I'm talking freaky, I'm talking third person. Shit, it was the first time in years I truly greened the thaw out. For you see, normal weed or bud is just that, normal. So the strength of it is confined in the realms of reality, unless you know it, it's Moonrock. Anyway, the biggest difference between smacking a pen versus, let's say, a J is that the pen doesn't have normal bud in it. It has concentrate, which, if you're unaware like I was, is about 10 to 20 times stronger than bud. Knowing that, the best way to get faded off the pen is by just taking small rips to avoid getting sent into the goddamn shadow realm. For example, the YouTuber DamianLuck925 is very well known for taking multiple blinkers, which is the biggest hit you can take, outside in social situations, most notably in random classrooms, like it's nothing. So me being at my USA Airbnb alone in the confines of my living room, thought to myself, okay, so it looks like the basic hit I should do at least is 1 blinker, but probably more. Yet what was waiting for me on the other side of Blinker City was something I was not prepared for. Something unholy. The voices. I'll never forget the horrible things they were whispering. They made me almost delete my YouTube channel. Anyway, it started with me ordering a 1 gram pen off of Weed Amazon, and it arrived the very next day in a beat up Cadillac with a delivery man who, from the looks of it, tests out every product he delivers just, to make sure the quality is there. Yo, bro, you're here for the weed, right? You got the cash? Yeah, I ordered through your website, though. It should be paid for already. Yeah, I forgot I'd take online orders now, too. Anyway, here's the stuff, bro. I trust you. Hey, thanks, bro. Have a good one. You too, man. Hello, Mr. Bro. We got a delivery for you from Weed Amazon that should be arriving in an hour or so. Will you be home then? Wait, didn't I just...
I'm a gorilla in a fucking scoop. Gonna pull up to the zoo.
Oh, I better get out of here. So I went back to the crib, Benjamin in hand, and prepared myself to get faded. And obviously, I went for a blinker, my very first hit. But since I had never smacked a pen before, I inhaled it for about 4 seconds and stopped because it was so light on my throat, I thought it wasn't working, but it actually was. And from that 4-second puff, I was already quite bamboozled. But since I have this weird rule of every time I get new stuff, I break it in by doing a massive hit, I thought, well, fuck. I was supposed to do a blinker, and went for it again. I inhaled and inhaled for a good 8 to 10 seconds, but the thing just wouldn't fucking blink. It got to the point where there was tears coming from my eyes and my throat was begging me to stop, and it ended up like... I had made a grave mistake. I was so fucking high, I felt my soul leave my body. I was so high, I forgot I was even high. But it was just the beginning, cause over the next 10 minutes, I just kept on getting more faded, and the demons in my head kept on getting louder and louder. But if you know me, I kinda refused to green out, so I just kept on doing random shit like reading the ingredients list off my bag of M&Ms, reading the comments on my videos.
Change that dark blue. Do things has changed career. Imagine copying another YouTuber.
Kill yourself. Was not doing good. I was keeping a strong facade, but inside there was a war going on. I was feeling like Naruto with the 9 tails. Only instead of an all-powerful destructive force talking to me, I was just really fucking high. Anyway, so yeah, I was grading out, which hadn't happened to me in years, and I concluded that because the voice of reason was completely being outspoken by the voice of tweaking. The good news is though, the hype from the Benjamin doesn't last too long, and in about 1 to 2 hours, I had started coming down, but at that point, I was already crawled up in my bed, scrolling endlessly on my phone, until I finally reached a state where I felt good enough to come out of emergency mode and order some food and ate myself into a food coma. So I learned, well, firstly, that motherfucker Fulcrum is actually insane, or his tolerance is just something else, bro, and that the Benjamin is best enjoyed in puffs of 3 to 5 seconds and not blinkers.
Ever wonder why some dudes can inhale that freshly cut grass an unholy amount of times with eyes so red you think dude is bleeding internally on some exorcist shit, but when asked, how you feeling, bro? They'll respond with something like, or, honestly, could go for one more J. Well, the reason for a response like that is due to their crack smoker power, which, contrary to popular belief, isn't all about tolerance. Although that can be an important factor, it isn't everything. So Randy, who's 30 years old and has been on a tea break for 2 years now, but has been consistently inhaling that grass for the entirety of his adult life, will be much less likely to freak out over some stupid shit than, for example, Jimmy here, who's been getting high for 2 months straight every day and claims himself a Za God. The reason for that is, Jimmy, although his tolerance is almost maxed out, still can't handle the fade in a situation even remotely out of his comfort zone. All that being said, we all start off on level 1.
Bro, I think it was laced.
Level 1, the good old times where the Za was still mysterious and scary. This is the level you're at if you've inhaled that magic spice only a couple times, and only so in the safest, securest, and good vibey situations possible. And honestly, while at this level, you couldn't even imagine doing anything besides eating Doritos and scrolling YouTube shorts whilst blasted, cause you just haven't gotten used to the feeling the green bestows upon you. That being the increase in significance of every thought and action, and because you don't know how to control it, your experiences with weed are mostly in your own head. So when you high, you can't focus on shit. Like really, the only thing that seems to catch your attention for more than 10 seconds is that sweet, sweet flavor on those Sour Patch Kids that you never knew could explode in your mouth like that. Now, depending on if you getting blasted solo or with friends will determine your speed of leveling, cause usually if you with friends, you get used to the Za more quickly because you're socializing. Plus, you know, there's always that one guy in the group that likes to mess with the newbies by getting them as high as possible and then being like, hey guys, let's go to the gas station. Which might seem whatever, but if it's your first time, you might just have a damn panic attack at that 7-Eleven, cause I swear, everybody is looking at you, and the cashier, he's onto you. Yeah, fuck that guy. Anyway, if you keep on eating grass, you'll move on to level 2. I am the Zaza God. Remember Jimmy, the self-proclaimed Zaza God? Yeah, well, he ain't quite the Za God he believes himself to be. To be honest, he barely a Za foot soldier. Cause it's all good and fine if he gets blasted up to Mars in the comfort of his own home, but take that comfort away and you'll most likely find him walking behind the group on his own looking like a lost puppy. And the reason for that is, my man's thought that he's been high so many times he can be high anywhere, which sadly isn't the case. Think of tolerance as the size of your dick. It can be massive, destructive in nature, and uncontrollably powerful. But what does that matter if all you use it for is to jerk off? Same with tolerance, it's situational, so you can be unfazed by the Za in the comfort of your own home, but as soon as that comfort is taken away, you a total noob again. Instead of focusing on the size of his T, Jimmy should have been focusing on upping his riz and going out and pulling some quality baddies, if you get what I mean. I'd say going from this level to the next is one of the biggest steps in between levels, cause to confidently say you a Za God, you should be able to keep your cool in most public situations, even if everybody is staring at you and every car with a hint of blue is a FBI agent ready to take you away for good. You gotta be chill, like a cucumber. And if you do study the cucumber enough while bugging off the broccoli, you might just advance to level 3, Transformer, Optimus Prime. This level is called Transformer because it's the level where your Zaza adventures completely transform. Instead of only smoking up at the comfort of you or your friend's home, you can now make plans in somewhat chill public areas like fast food places, cinemas, the park, the spa, or really anywhere where you know people will most likely be minding their own business.
And because of this newfound power, you probably have also started blazing that green more, which depending on the type of person you are, it could start affecting your everyday tasks and goals negatively, because although hard to admit, the Zaza can and will make you a lazy mofo if you let it. But as I said, it all depends on the shape of your character, so if you can control the inherent laziness the Za tries to curse you with and still keep on rolling with your goals without becoming a Dorito munching World of Warcraft playing stay-at-home hobgoblin, at some point you'll move on to level 4. Yeah, to be honest, I'm high right now. Welcome to the ultimate purgatory and struggle of a consistent Za enjoyer. As I said before, you only advance to this level if you didn't become a Star Wars lore arguing Prime Dumbledore admiring League of Legends playing high stay-at-home goblin. Wait, why are you Star Wars lore all the time? And I love Dumbledore. Ah, well, at least I don't play League of Legends. Anyway, as I was saying, it's quite hard to make it to this level, and even harder to stay here, because nowadays, you are so used to doing stuff while blasted, you could theoretically be in that state 24/7. But the problem is, you also know being high 24/7 is expensive, plus, even if you don't notice, I'd say for 95% of people, it makes them less productive as well. So that's why I call it purgatory, because you're constantly pondering the question, should I maybe do a quick hit before doing this? And although I'd love to say I have the answer to that question, I don't. It all depends on you and your situation. So for example, if I had a job interview, I wouldn't do a quick hit. But then again, I know dudes who say the Za makes them less nervous and stressed, plus more talkative. So for those people, I'd have to say, go ahead I guess. But if one day you find a definitive answer to the question, should I maybe do a quick grip before this? You'll move on to the final and most elusive level there is. Level 5. Za God. You have entered into your own subconscious and from it dug out answers to humanity's biggest questions like, are we alone? Why are we here? Why is an 80-year-old man running for president again? And of course, should I bang that Benjamin a little bit before heading out? And I'm sorry to inform you guys that I do not know much of this level because I have yet to make it this far myself, and I still have no idea why Joe Biden is running for president again. But I can tell you this much. This is the level that completely transcends tolerance, as you really don't even need to worry about that anymore, cause you know your body to the point you always know what amount is the right amount. Also, you have figured out the perfect formula for working hard and following your dreams, whilst also inhaling that Za and being a chill and interesting dude, not just some corporate suck-up.
Dabs, the world's strongest Za, or so I have been told. In reality, dabs can't really be considered the world's strongest Za, cause it's technically not weed anymore. It's the extract of it. And although there are natural and unnatural ways to extract that THC, the end result is always the same: super potent, sticky, icky wax. You see, wax is like the express lane of cannabis. If the express lane was designed to launch you into a high so intense, you'll wonder if you just got teleported. It's a concentrated form of cannabis where all the THC and terpenes have been extracted from the plant into a sticky wax-like substance. Think of it as the espresso shot of weed. It's quick, potent, and designed to get you where you're going fast. Wax generally contains anywhere from 60 to 90% THC. That's right, you're basically inhaling a THC rocket launcher. A little dab, literally a small dot of wax, is enough to send you to the moon and back in no time, which, let's be honest, might be exactly what you're looking for, but anyway. The extraction process typically involves solvents like butane or CO2, which separate the THC from the plant material. The result is a gooey concentrate that can resemble something between honey and a gummy bear's worst nightmare. And if you think it looks a little sus, that's because it probably should. Just make sure you know what you're doing with the dab rig, or you might end up with an accidental science experiment that doesn't go quite as planned. Now, you might be wondering, CBD bro, what's the difference between like strong bud and dabs, eh? What's up with that? Glad you asked, my little munchkin. Bud typically contains around 15 to 25% THC, depending on the strain and how good your dealer is. This means it's still potent, but you won't be crossing into a parallel universe with a single puff. You get a slower, more gradual high that builds up over time, kind of like gently being rocked into a nice little nap. Unlike wax, which is concentrated and intense, Bud is the slower burner of the weed world. Sure, you'll still get high, but it's more of a let's hang out and take our time with this situation. Like like sipping on a glass of wine versus chugging a bottle of tequila. You'll get the same effect, but one will probably leave you with fewer regrets. To put it simply, wax is like the hardcore version of cannabis, while bud is like the I'm just here to enjoy myself version. Both will get you high, but one will probably make you rethink your life just a little bit. So what made me want to try dabs in the first place? Well, you see, as the modern day Columbus, I like to view myself as a discoverer, and having tried every type of grass besides wax, it kind of bugged me that I didn't have any knowledge of the latter. And so, for science, my own personal curiosity, and educational purposes, I decided to test it out so I can stand here and tell you not to try it. Here is my experience with the dabs. Let me set the scene for you. I have been in Florida smoking up every day on that not CBD Zaza legal nationwide, baby. Don't get high off your own supply, they say. But since the supply was in a warehouse, I thought it didn't apply. Problem was, with 24/7 online access to premium bud, I got my tolerance up to levels I honestly didn't think was possible for me. But Florida is not the place this story takes place. It was just a prologue. After building up a Dracula castle-sized fort of tolerance in my body for 2 months, I flew my badonkadonk to Denver, Colorado, where ZA is legal on the state level. And I don't know if I just got lucky 3 times in a row or Denver has more dispensaries than grocery stores, but for some reason every hotel I stayed at had a right outside the door, like it was part of their compound or some shit. Anyway, once I arrived in my first hotel, I had no real plans of going to Dabbington City. In fact, I assumed because Colorado is like the capital of ZA, I could achieve the fate I was chasing by just buying some premium bud. It wasn't until I went to my next hotel when I finally ran out and was in the market for some exotic again. But this time I knew flour wasn't going to be enough. If I was going to end my multi-month US trip with a bang, I needed something that would face my insane tolerance and overcome it. Push me back into Yodi land one last time. So I went to this and explained my situation to the clerk.
Hello, sir. What can I get for you today?
Yeah, so I'm looking for something strong.
Well, in that case, I guess I recommend edibles, maybe some Moonrock or dabs. What do you like?
I've never done dabs before, but I have heard that they're very potent, so I guess I'll go with them.
Fabulous choice, sir. I have 3 types here. The cheap stuff, the good stuff, and the insane stuff.
It was at this moment that I sealed my fate. My overconfidence consumed me, and I answered,
"Give me that insane shit, bruh."
92% THC is the wax I received, and to all you ZA experts who are already typing,
"THC percentage doesn't mean anything. Has this guy ever even smoked before? LOL. I live in my basement alone, and all I smoke is that exotic."
Nah, for real, bro. Last video, some dude said what matters most is the plant's DNA and its heritage. Like your average smoker is gonna walk into the on some,
excuse me, could you tell me about the DNA compensation of this ZA?
Yeah, I don't know, bro. It says OG.
Of course I see that, but tell me about the history of this particular plant. Were its ancestors also original gangster?
Look, man, I get $14 an hour here. I don't freaking know. I've smoked it before. It's pretty good. Anyway, now that I got my premium dabs, I needed a way to smoke it. But because I knew doing dabs is not as easy as just, say, ripping a BONG, I decided to do a bit of research before buying any equipment. So I went to the closest Starbucks, sat down, and...
This is what you're gonna need. A cap, a nail, terp spinner, which is optional, a rig, Q-tips, a torch, a timer, dab tool, and a set of lungs.
Well, that's ridiculous.
I knew it wasn't simple, but what the fuck is the main thought that went through my brain. I had no idea you needed a whole damn chemistry kit to take a dab, but I had already committed. I mean, that premium wax wasn't cheap, and I was determined to finish what I had started. So I went to the closest smoke shop like,
"Hello there, can I help you with anything?"
"Yeah, so, I need a cap, a nail, a spinner, a rig, Q-tips, alcohol, a torch, a timer, and finally, a dab tool. Do you have all of that?"
"Yeah, I'm pretty sure I can find all that stuff around here somewhere, but you could just buy this electronic pen. Probably be a bit easier."
"Oh, well, sure, but does it include, a cap, a nail, a terp?"
"No, but, like, you can do a dab with it."
"Oh, fantastic. I'll take." As it turns out, all you really need to take a dab is a e-pen, but I'm sure I'll be lectured in the comments about how that's not the same and how I've never even been high before. Anyway, I was now almost ready to enter into Dabbington City. But it was not gonna be easy, as I was staying at a no-smoke hotel. So I grabbed all my stuff, walked like 10 feet from the hotel, loaded my dab, and... Oh, it's not on. So I put it on the high setting, waited a couple seconds, and prepared to smack it again. I was done. Finished, bamboozled. No words can describe how absolutely grade A I was. I knew from the moment I exhaled that I needed to get to my room as fast as possible, because this high instantly reminded me of when I first blinkered a Benjamin, only even more intense. I felt like my eyes had caved into my brain, making me more third person than first. Also, I could detect every organ in my body individually, and the sound of my heartbeats were constantly playing like some background music. I don't even know if I finished the whole dab, but I just knew I had to skedaddle before I... Wait, is it a bit No. No. You see, I have this weird, awful debuff I only get sometimes when I'm like really hot. And this is the misperception of being extremely cold. It's like this weird trigger I have when I get too faded, and because I've experienced it so many times, it's like this unholy, intrusive thought that I just can't avoid. You can imagine my situation was not ideal. I was tweaking harder than I probably ever have before, and I just started slowly walking back to my hotel, trying to think of anything besides my bodily functions. I made it back inside, still shivering from my mental debuff, and walked to the elevator as fast as I could, where I had an awkward encounter with a fellow guest. I'm a swerve in the corner, Is it really that cold outside? No, it's pretty warm actually. Oh. Okay. That dude must have thought he just talked to a local crackhead. But anyway, the instant I got back to my room, I snuggled into my bed to warm up and hopefully stop tweaking, which eventually I did, but I was still scared to leave the comfort on my warm sheets, so I just kind of watched fun YouTube videos until I came down a bit. After about 30 minutes, I stopped geeking and instantly ordered some food, but not just any food. I ordered a large Baconator combo from Wendy's like a true American. And I know I say this every high story, but this time I can't emphasize it enough. That shit was bussin'. Combine my already empty stomach with the wax high, then throw in bacon, cheese, and lettuce. Yeah, I added lettuce to my burger. Why? Because fitness isn't a choice. It's a lifestyle. So, sorry to disappoint you guys, but really that's about all that happened. The high was very similar to my first Benjamin. Tweak it first, vibe later. Will I be doing dabs again? Probably not, because they're pretty expensive and build up your tolerance super fast. Did I enjoy my time in Dabbington City? Well, besides the first 30 minutes where my brain got Doctor Stranged into Antarctica, it was fun, although it did make me very stupid. As I remember trying to connect my PS5 to my TV, and for like 15 minutes, I was trying to figure out why it wasn't showing up on my screen until I realized, oh, I'm missing the HDMI cable. Sunrock, the most powerful grass that humanity has ever conjured up, with even its less potent relative, Moonrock, being so extreme that
Moonrock is too
says
much,
it's too much. And since I had once already traveled to the moon and made it back alive, barely, I saw it only fitting for me to conquer the sun as well. But unlike last time, where I was in Amsterdam with my brother and had the comfort of tweaking together, this time I was alone, nearly 6,000 miles away from home, in the city of sin, Las Vegas, Nevada. The story kicks off a couple days after I had hit my first blinker and discovered a new realm of high. You know, kind of like Columbus when he discovered America, but unlike Columbus who annihilated the indigenous people, I was annihilating the you know, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, after seeing firsthand what the land of the free can offer in terms of getting obliterated beyond the realms of Mother Nature, I was quite intrigued. So, out of curiosity, I decided to Google strongest weed you can get in Las Vegas, just in case there was something more potent than Moonrock, which up until this point I thought was the pinnacle of bud. So after stumbling upon an article comparing the rocks from the moon and sun, I realized that in my ignorance I had crowned a false king, and the only deserving punishment for a big smarty pants weed stickman YouTuber like myself was to feel the full wrath of the true strongest weed in the universe. I hopped on the local Las Vegas weed
dispensary site in hopes of having it delivered to me like the Benjamin, but either due to current weather conditions or just the delivery man greening the fuck out, it said, "We are currently not providing deliveries." For the time being, I had no other choice than to leave my apartment and go to the closest dispensary in hopes of them having this exotic nug in stock. Only problem was that it was night and well, your boy wasn't exactly staying at Caesar's Palace, so as I was preparing to go outside in the dark, where, mind you, I saw a guy walking around wearing a safety vest, rocking a handlebar mustache and carrying a double-barrel shotgun the night before, I just had to take a quick rip from the bong to make it a high story, you know?
Okay, 2 miles that way. Wish I had a car. Guess I'll just run. Fucking bullshit.
A few minutes later.
Hello, sir? Oh, yeah, hello. You guys have something called Sunrock? It's like, nope. Just sold the last stock. Those guys bought it. We got Moonrock, though. No, I've already done that. You know where I can get some Sunrocks, though? Yeah, the store a mile from here should have some left. Okay, yeah, thank you.
A few minutes later.
Sorry, I gotta see your passport first, bruh.
No, but this is like my government-issued ID, can you—
Look, I'm sorry. We have a lot of people visiting from banana republics these days, and we can't start selling to everybody with a rinky-dinky, "this is a real country, Google it," ID card. Come back with a passport and I'll hook you up.
I'm not from Banana Republic. We made Skype.
Hello there. Yes, I had to now walk back 3 miles, get my passport, walk another 3 to get the Sunrock, and then walk another 3 back home. And mind you, I had already ran 3 miles too. So you know, of course, cause your boy fast as bull, quick as an electrical jolt, I got an Uber back home. But now I was fresh again, so of course I put on my Space Jams and I got an Uber. But then when I was there and showed my passport, received my $80 weed, I was not trying to get robbed on the walkway filled with homeless camps in Las Vegas fiends, so I got an Uber. Finally, after wasting a week's transportation budget in 40 minutes, I was back in my apartment, Sunrock in hand and rolling papers in my pockets. And yes, unlike last time with the Moonrock, I wasn't about to smack that shit from my bong and get assimilated. Cause from the blinker I had done a couple days back, I learned my lesson about concentrate. Do not underestimate it. So I rolled me up a Slimmy Slimmer, basically a very small J. And something you might not know is that with these caviar nugs like Sunrock, you're not really supposed to grind them with a regular grinder, so I just used my fingers to break the nug apart, and because of that, well, let's just say the airflow on this J was god awful. Later on I would find out you're not supposed to smoke Sunrock from a J at all, but hey, you live and you learn. Anyway, I went to my patio and attempted to light this abomination, and I mean, it really was. Imagine taking some A4 Wagyu steak and serving it in a dirty bucket, but alas, I still the first puff, yes, the goddamn first puff got me drafted in a galactic war against the Matrix. And I think that had to do with the fact that Jay only had like 3 puffs in it, cause I was basically just smoking straight nugs. But I decided for the legacy of CBD, bro, I shall do another puff. The French Revolution, the Napoleonic Wars, the moon landing, the splitting of the atom, the theory of relativity, it all flashed before my eyes because I now saw the world from an interstellar position. And I would love to say I now went on some grand adventure and discovered the Holy Grail with some Las Vegas crackheads, but this was different. The high was spent glued to my couch, wondering the meaning of the universe and how I had traveled 6,000 miles across the ocean and was now sitting on a couch in some random Airbnb completely and utterly blasted beyond human understanding. After about 15 minutes of doing literally nothing but staring at my wall, I decided to watch some YouTube and found this guy called Oversimplified who makes these historical animation videos and spent a good portion of my high learning about the history of our world. Too bad I don't remember a goddamn thing, but at the time I felt like I was really becoming a damn scholar. I guess the lessons and memories of that high are waiting for me once I return to the land of the sun.
Where am I?
Man, I told you not to smoke that Sunrock. You stuck on the sun now, fool, with the rest of us.
No! Oh, no, wait, that was just a dream. Damn, I'm fucked up.
Yeah, bro. You were in a hell of a kush coma.
Yeah, I guess I was. Wait!
Bro, I got stuck in a kush coma, my dudes. Shit was crazy, and I don't actually remember the exact dreams I saw, but they were pretty trippy, and it was one of those inception things that had me waking up from a dream into another dream, son. Safe to say, I had gotten assimilated. But it was kind of nice, because it was a real clear high without anxiety, which usually when you get that obliterated, it always comes accompanied with just a little bit of anxiety at least. So, are Sunrocks stronger than Moonrocks? Yes, but the main thing I took from this high was that they also kinda better. Mushrooms, truffles, call it psilocybin if you're a fancy pants, I don't care. But you will. You'll care about it deeply. You'll question your life. What have you done? Why are you here? What are you doing?
Snap out of it!
Look at your phone. What's the time? How much longer? What?
What you just saw is what I like to call the mushroom experience. And I'm not talking about some Gordon Ramsay culinary dish. I'm talking about that fourth dimension. I'm talking about you being Neo sitting in front of Morpheus.
Choose to eat them, and you will see the truth of who you are. Discover your subconscious. Question things that you've just assumed were true. And if you navigate this path successfully, you'll emerge as...
But, well, what Morpheus won't tell you is that if you don't accept the path of the fungus and fight your subconscious instead, you will not, and I repeat, not have a good time. In fact, I think it's safe to say you shouldn't ever tell anyone to eat mushrooms. It never works out. Either they just don't do it, or they feel like they gotta try it and end up just fighting demons for 3 hours, gaining nothing from the experience except more fear. That being said, for education, science, and the furtherment of mankind, I will be sharing my story to educate the public about the dangers of the unknown. So by continuing with this video, you acknowledge that you are strictly watching this for educational and entertainment reasons and will never recreate anything in the video. Please? Was that enough? We'll see, boy. Enter my friend Ricky. Me and him were chilling at his place when we got to talking. You see, I had previously just consumed some interdimensional fungus a couple weeks back and was kind of raving about how eye-opening it was. You know, the basic hippie shit. But Ricky was not buying it, which in my eyes made me feel like I gotta prove him wrong. Now, I think he was such an unbeliever because he's your typical Eastern European blue-collar, work hard, get hammered on the weekend type of dude. Not that there's anything wrong with that, just I wish I would have realized if your favorite thing to do is forget about all your worries and problems by getting drunk every weekend, then mushrooms probably won't be something you'll vibe with, especially if you low-key don't even want to do them. But regardless, I was all like, Ricky, my man, my main man, my brother from another mother. Okay, I get it. What do you want? What I want is for you to want to eat some mushrooms with me tonight. Eat mushrooms with you and talk about our feelings, or hit up Salamander, go to the club, get hammered, pull some baddies, and lay down the pipe. Tough choice. Well, let me translate that for you. Eat mushrooms, chill out, have fun, free of charge. Or hit up Salamander, spend over $100 on drinks and club entrance fees in hopes of pulling a baddie. With, well, so far your track record being 1 of 15, with the singular success being that fat bitch. Okay, you made your point. Let's eat the stupid mushrooms. I probably won't feel them anyway. I had convinced my good old friend Ricky, or at least old friend, maybe not so good. Anyway, he was down to enter the land of mushrooms, and I was down with the plug who had some fungus on the low-low. Although I had promoted this event as free of charge, my financial situation disagreed. So I slowly leaned closer to Ricky and said, "If you borrow $20 to the mall." With the funding for our mushroom experience now secured, I hit up Jimmy the plug god with, and now we play the waiting game. Any moment now. Finally. Yeah, 10G will run you about $100. Ricky, Richard, Rick Dog. You think you can spare an extra $30 for the homie? Fine. With further funding secured from our amazing sponsor, Rick Dog LLC, we ventured into our automobile to go and secure some Chungus fungus. And while we were driving there, I was all like, you know that once you experience ego death, you get rich and pull hella hoes forever, right? That's stupid, but enlighten me, I guess. Okay, so hear me out.
Why do individuals eschew the pursuit of their aspirations and the undertaking of risks, particularly when they are not constrained by socioeconomic disadvantages? The answer lies in the nature of the ego, which harbors a fear of failure. This fear arises from a deep-seated concern that we may not be as intelligent or as capable as we believe ourselves to be. Consequently, the ego compels us to remain within the confines of our comfort zone, a realm in which we can entertain limitless potential without ever actualizing it.
Damn, you really want to eat those shrooms, don't you?
Perhaps. As we pulled up to the plug's addy and hunted him down, we completed our transaction and received a good amount of fungus, which I thoroughly inspected on the ride back and told Ricky the plan. No eating anything 2 hours before ingesting. Drink orange juice or anything sugary to end the trip faster. It takes about 30 minutes to kick and 2 hours to reach maximum overdrive. Any questions?
Do they, taste okay?
Like an expired can of organic dog shit.
Nice.
We'll eat it with chocolate though.
Great.
We got back to the crib and sat down at the couch next to the table and got all our supplies like orange juice, chocolate, and water.
Let's do this.
I'm ready.
I can still feel the taste.
Yeah, that'll be like that for a while, but let's take our minds off it with the new Plankton movie featuring SpongeBob.
It's on Netflix.
And so that's exactly what we did. Sat there in anticipation for the fungus to absorb, among us. It took a while, and the wait is always pretty anxious because you don't know when they gonna hit. I mean, it could be now.
Better check my hands. No weirdness or fuzziness? What about the walls? TV, okay, seem normal for now.
Why is Plankton always plotting something?
Dude really got no chill, for real.
They were starting to kick, but the start is easy. When you're at that microdose level, it's basically like being faded. It isn't until a few dozen minutes go by that if you took some chungus fungus, you're about to start tripping balls, bro.
A few moments later.
Yo, bro, you watching the movie? Bro, I got no f***ing idea what I'm watching. That's fair, might have eaten too much.
Too much? Wait, you're telling me I ate too much?
No, not really. It just could have taken less too, but what? No spiritual awakening then? Basically. Yo, I gotta get some fresh air. I feel like I can't breathe, man. Shit. Let's go outside then. You're getting me tweaking too, Rick Dog.
Stop calling me that. As with every mushroom trip I personally ever had, stage 1 was complete, aka the indoors part, and stage 2, the juicy part, was just beginning. The outdoors wanderer and ponderer. Thank God we did this in spring, cause personally I don't know if I could even handle going outside in the cold while on that Mario pack. Anyway, we walked around in our small town in the fresh air, basking in the glory of the sun, hoping that we don't see anyone we know and shit. What's up? Y'all trying to come to the club tonight?
Not gonna lie, me and Ricky are more fungus than Big Chungus, and Rick Dog is low-key. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay.
High-key tweaking out like an Oompa Loompa. Damn! You two did mushrooms together? That's kinda gay, but well, have fun.
No, don't leave me. Please, Tree. You're all I have. Yeah, we will, yeah.
Ricky, come on now. The tree isn't leaving you. Let's go, get something to drink. So we moved on to the small grocery store in our neighborhood where, according to Ricky, we did not belong. He told me that it feels like everybody is staring at him, and although in my heart I knew that they weren't, the shrooms told me,
yo, this mofo Ricky's speaking facts.
Nah, bro, chill. You've been here enough to know that's not true. It's in your head, son.
Not to scare you, bro, but, you're screwed. The demons are approaching. Ricky? We gotta get out of here right now.
And so we did, with only one thing to show from our efforts, a container of OJ, which turns out does nothing. I mean, every smart shop owner in Amsterdam always says drink OJ to end the trip faster, but ChatGPT told me, Nah, bro, that's cap. Which I wish I didn't ask him that while on the fungus, cause now all hope was lost. I couldn't even tell Ricky to jug the orange juice, cause I knew it was a dud. The trip really started feeling like a weird nightmare, but I mean, not so much, because I was tweaking mostly cause Ricky was, and I feel completely responsible for that, cause, well, it was my idea. So I did the only thing I felt like I could. I apologized to Ricky for dragging him into Mushroom Kingdom, which he accepted and told me, "It's not your fault, bro." And after that, it was like something clicked, and we finally started vibing, talking about what we were feeling and what we were thinking. Near the end of the shrooms, we were discussing our trip, and if Ricky regretted it, and he said, well, yeah, but not as much as he thought. Because although the first half of the fungus was spooky, the second half did give him some type of spiritual or mental awakening, per se. Not that Ricky was gonna do anything with that. He got wasted with Salamander the next day and spent $200 on drinks pulling zero hoes in the process. Moral of the story is, magic fungus can make you feel more connected with yourself and your subconscious. Will eating it once with no clear goal or motive change your life? Absolutely not. Or at least, that's what I think due to my experience with Rick Dog.
For the last time, stop calling me that!
Types of people you should never blaze with. If you've ever smoked with friends, you know being high with others can be a great time, and in a lot of ways much more fun than being high alone. But it can also be awful and cause anxiety if you're with the wrong group. So today we're gonna go over types of people you should never smoke up with, starting with the oversmoker. The oversmoker is someone who wants to hit that Benjamin way too much. Now don't get me wrong, I got nothing against a good old limit breaker sesh, but if you're the oversmoker, you never actually doing that. Cause your tolerance is so high, even if you grab the beehive-sized chunk of wax and dab the whole thing, you still stand there like, phew, I think I feel something. Another reason I really don't like blazing with these dudes is cause you can't ever really dive into a topic and enjoy the high, cause every 10 minutes you hear that,
"Hey, let's do another hit."
Like, what you mean, dog? We just did 3 hits in 30 minutes. I'm halfway fused with the couch, and your homie is in the corner explaining how the government controls us with tap water. We don't need another hit, bro. One positive this guy has, I guess, though, is he is always equipped with a ridiculous amount of za. Dudes must get his shit from the same guy Gordon Ramsay was hitting up, cause it's always some damn exotic. Even so, their vibe ain't really one I fuck with, so if you're this guy, I'ma respectfully advise you to maybe consider taking a tea break or some, cause there diff is a point where it's too much. Unlike the next guy, who doesn't even need any side to be annoying, and he is Mr. Paranoid. I think we've all gotten paranoid from the grass before, and that ain't nothing to be ashamed of, cause sometimes there really ain't nothing you can do. But the occasional paranoid episode ain't what this guy has. This dude, even before taking a rip, is talking about some, hey yo, you sure this ain't lace, right?
No, what? This is the same stuff as last time, bro.
Okay, that's good. Can you check if there's any cops around?
Bro, there's no cops. We're in the fucking woods.
Yeah, okay, but wait, before we smoke, let me check if this place is haunted.
Man, what is this guy on?
Like, bro, what do you mean haunted? This ain't Conjuring, bro. Why you always trying to set a negative vibe for everyone? But however much you assure my mans that no, it's okay, we're not about to be swatted on some Twitch streamer shit, his mind just can't seem to get over it. And worst part is, dude never tries to deal with his paranoid problems on his own. You can all be having a fun time talking about some GTA 6 leaks or something, and he'll just ruin it all with,
"Hey, yo, guys. You hear that?"
"Hear what?"
"Bro, I swear, I just heard someone walking outside."
"So?" It's a neighborhood. That's what people do.
"Yeah, but the window's open. He could have saw us all high."
"Yeah, but it ain't like you're gonna call the cops."
"Cops? There's cops?"
"What? No. Chill, man. There's no cops."
Nah, bruh. I think I'm greening out. I need some fresh air or something."
Bro just decides, yup, I'm greening out now. Like, no, your personality is just very insecure, and you should probably get that figured out before you take another smack dabbly doo off that Benjamin. Anyway, this guy ain't no fun to blaze with, cause he's very prone to ruining the vibe, so avoid at all costs. But this next guy is more of a personal preference, so you might disagree with me, but for a guy I don't like getting high with is the grass NPC. I think we've all met one of these, whether you knew it at the time or not. This is the type of dude who lives, breathes, and of course, smokes grass. I mean, really, dudes physically can't talk about anything else for more than a minute, cause he has no goals or aspirations that stretch further than, I wanna get suited AF. Which, wanting to get suited ain't nothing bad. I mean, most of us here probably love bacon, but come on, bro, at some point you gotta think about your life, your future, or I don't know, just something else than grass. Why I personally don't like hanging with a dude like this is cause cause his stories always are so centered around how high he was. I mean, bro, I get it, you went to school high. Like at some point after hearing about the 78th time of dudes being high in class, you start to notice that man's actually has nothing interesting to say except,
yeah, I was so gone when I was in math class. Yeah, bro, we went to the zoo and I was not on planet Earth.
like, bro, when are you ever on planet Earth? And I find it hard to believe this guy, cause if you blaze in so much, do you even feel high anymore? Like, don't you just get used to the feeling and it becomes normal? Anyway, yeah, don't be this guy. He ain't making it past level 1 of life, for real. Unless he like starts his own dispensary or something. Then it could work out very nicely, actually. But the next type of dude on the list is the guy that wants to be taken way too serious. I don't know if you guys ever talked to someone like this, but I have a couple times, and it's annoying AF. You know how when you blaze, you tend to go on rants and halfway lose your train of thought and then just end up saying, ah shit, I don't know what I'm talking about. And everyone laughs and moves on? Well, this dude is incapable of doing that. Instead, he holds the conversation hostage with his ramblings about inflation, Biden, Oprah, and James Cameron. And if you start trying to move on and talk about something else, dude sits there not listening and then 3 minutes later hits everyone with the,
okay, so basically what I was trying to explain earlier was,
like, bro, we already moved on and we're all freaking baked. No one even remembers their last sentence. How you gonna start expanding on your thoughts from ages ago like the MCU or something? Worst part is, however much you try to politely show him to stop ranting, he never gets the signs and just keeps doing it. Best thing you can do is just not invite him to the sesh, and you don't have to feel like a dick about it either, cause I'm 100% sure he understands the signs, but just ignores him cause he thinks his thoughts are more important than whatever the group wants to talk about. But the next dude on the list has a bit of a different problem, and he is
Mr. I'm bored, I want to do something.
Oh snap, the guy who is somehow always bored and wants to do something. Now, don't get me wrong, I love high adventures and I'm always down to go on one, but only if there's actually something cool in mind. Yeah, this is something this dude and me don't have in common, cause this mofo just spams the sentence,
I'm bored, let's go somewhere.
Like, bro, where somewhere? Say where. My man just assumes anywhere is better than where he is, and honestly, that gets annoying fast cause it makes you all self-conscious about if you're bored or not. And honestly, a lot of times you might be, but that's just life. The grass ain't a freaking happy pill. Sometimes you're gonna smoke up and still feel bored. But how is that gonna change if we go outside? It's not like we living in Skyrim, bro. However sad it may be, you ain't finna open the door and see a mysterious bearded man waiting for you with a scroll in his hand saying,
adventurer, we need you.
But hey, out of everybody on the list, I think this guy's the least bad, cause a lot of times the ZA makes mofos lazy AF, so it is good to have someone who can push the group into doing stuff. Just sometimes my man needs to chill out. Talking about,
let's go to McDonald's, let's go to Burger King,
let's go shh. Let's just shut the fuck up.
Okay.
Although sometimes dude actually does have something in mind, which turns out to be pretty fun. So there ain't nothing bad with wanting to do something cool, just you don't have to parade the fact you're bored all the time, cause just by saying that, everybody is gonna feel like that even more.